welcome to our podcast, A Podcast Orange. My name is Jack Siegel.
I shouldn't have let you introduce it. That was disgusting. That hello. That made my spine like chill.
Hello.
Yeah,
that was horrible.
It did chill me to my core.
It wasn't.
That was the intent. I wanted to do the creepiest hello as possible.
The lean in, and then you got real soft, and then kind of crescendoed it up into was odd.
Yeah, the lean in it was what really gave it to me. The way, and your eyes like widened too, and you were like, hello. You know, it's like, oh.
That's how I say it to all the kids.
Yeah, it's like.
We have a special guest today.
Yes, we
do. One of the funniest, nicest, and loudest comedians.
Yeah.
Mr. Devin Bramble.
He's so funny that you can hear him from space.
I'll cop to the third one. The third one, yeah. I am a loud individual.
How's it going, Devin?
Devin Bramble is here, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Good. Yeah, man. It's been a long time coming.
How's it been, man? What's the story? What's going on?
Nothing much, man. Just taking it one day at a time.
Yeah, true.
Trying to survive, staring into the middle distance.
Yeah.
Engaging in brutal Mortal Kombat against the infinite.
Yes. We're all fighting the deep and dark pull of misery. The deep, dark emptiness that surrounds us all that we know is truly there. Yes.
Yeah.
It surrounds us, but it can never catch us
until the end. A podcast Nietzsche.
It's very. That reminds me of like in the Seventh Seal, how it's always death is always around the corner.
Yeah,
you know. And
you ever seen the Seventh Seal?
Nope.
Yeah, it's a pretty for lack of a better, it's a pretty white movie. Okay, it takes
place in Sweden.
Yeah, it's a Swedish movie. You can't really get much more.
I'm glad it was a movie. I thought you guys had joined a cult or something. Yeah, was like, well, the fourth seal is the most important. Yeah. Oneness with Azugoth is really.
What if we actually we told you we were just having a podcast, but we really just wanted to indoctrinate?
Yeah, we just wanted to. We were trying to compromise you into the Bohemian Grove here. It's just this movie about these knights in medieval times, and one of them is playing chess with death, and the whole time death is kind of a douchebag because he's just look, man, you're death. Is God real? And death is I have no secrets. It's yeah, but come on, dude, he's can't you just give me a wink?
He's just the messenger. Death is just the one that brings you to the end.
You sound just like him.
Devin, you should come to one of our movie nights.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, I'll do I'll put the TV outside and we'll watch movies and shit.
Hell yeah. I'd be down.
Yeah. It inspires a lot of our content for the podcast because otherwise it's usually just Jack getting mad at Trump supporters.
We branch off.
We branch off. Sometimes I get mad at people too.
Did you watch National Treasure last time? Is that why the Constitution is?
Yeah, that's why we have a copy of the Constitution.
Stole this.
No, this was actually. But
it was at the airport. It was at one of those checkout lines at the airport.
This truly is something people say that white people have no culture, but truly I think we do because this was a stocking stuffer. That's only in an upper middle class white Long Island family would somebody stuff a pocket Constitution.
Tom's parents were tired of bailing him out.
I was gonna say. One night they were like, maybe he doesn't know the laws. Did we consider that? That maybe he just.
Let's start with the first one that was ever made.
This whole time we've been assuming that he's just completely ignoring them, but is it possible he's unaware that they exist?
It's impossible that he's never read his rights.
And they're like, wait a second, what does women's suffrage have to do with me crashing my car?
It's wait a minute, that's bullshit. They get to vote, and they're like, oh man, it's worse.
Fuck, this make some changes to this.
Maybe he didn't know he's not allowed to quarter his car on that guy's lawn. He was.
It's where's the amendment that says I can't do that? I don't see it in here. Okay.
I wonder when the last time a court case has come over of quartering people illegally.
Yeah, quartering
soldiers.
Somebody that's Amendment 3. Think about how important that made. Amendment 1 is free speech. And religion.
Amendment
2 is the guns. And then Amendment 3 is soldiers can't force themselves into your house. It was that big of a thing back then.
I'm trying to think about a time in the past century where soldiers would have forced someone to make them a meal. Because that's all. It's not quartering. It's taking care of them. It's not soldiers aren't allowed inside. It's soldiers can't make you feed and house them for extended periods of time.
So it's you can't. Like, could you imagine if it was like 2005?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't imagine in the last century when it was like, you got to feed them too. Like, these soldiers have to stay here and you got to give them a hot meal.
Oh, some asshole who's like went to war in Iraq is just like, hey, I'm back, but I have nowhere to go for like 3 weeks. I'm gonna need you to like.
That would be cool. You know what?
That'd be alright, but
let's
it'd be kind of
put
like
that exception in there. Veterans are allowed to just come into.
Veterans are one thing, but like
Vietnam veterans, when you're like, no, dude, you served in the '60s.
Yeah. Right? Also, that war was kind of pointless, bro. Like, I know you suffered for it, but let's be real.
It's like that wouldn't happen today though, because somebody would be coming in like, all right, so what are you cooking? And be like, dude, I don't even cook for myself. We
got Cheetos, man.
We got ramen. If you want fucking ramen noodles, I can do something with like, dude. It's 9 o'clock. Like, why do you know? Just fucking order takeout.
I'm imagining a bunch of soldiers that are just like, I fucking hate it here.
Just throwing shit on the ground. What is this? Another bag of corn chips?
Just a soldier.
But they're just like an angry 8-year-old. It's like, I fucking hate it here.
Like, I want to go home. It's like, this is home for now, right, Billy? It's like, I don't like it.
Not now, Dale. We just gotta stay a little bit longer.
Nah, damn it, Dale. Can't you just be patient?
They would just order a pizza. That would be their fucking staying here. Like, you couldn't just order it from the park or some shit? Why?
Well, this is my husband, and this is my son, Billy, and this is the platoon. Platoon, say hi. Hello. I said say hi. Say
like you mean it. Hi, we are
hi,
the platoon.
Mrs. Jeffries.
They would run to the guest room. I hate it here. Be like, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back. Good. That's what I want.
And then they just like jump into the couch and bury their face in the cushions. Like,
you know what? I'm never speaking to you. I'm leaving. I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't know you.
It's
2
like,
days
you know
ago.
what? Like, I'm pretty sure there's an amendment in here that says, have you read my pocket constitution?
Imagine a soldier packing his like big old infantry duffel bag, and he like dramatically storms out, and then 30 minutes later there's a ring on the door, and he's like, I couldn't find it, the bus stop.
He's got one of those like sticks that hitchhikers use with the fucking bag attached.
He's crying. There was a big dog, and I got scared.
He's like the neighbor
come inside.
yelled at
Start,
me.
like,
The neighbor yelled at me to get off his lawn.
You just start
I
crossing.
don't know which way I can walk.
Get in here.
Come in here, buddy.
All right. Come on.
Let's make him some cocoa.
Let's have some ice cream.
The mother's looking out the window. Honey, I'm worried about him. He's been gone for 10 minutes.
He's a
Karen,
big boy.
I'll be back.
Carolyn, he's a train killing machine. He'll be fine.
He comes home and he's got like some dead Afghani guy that he killed. Like, what did I tell you? Like,
What did I tell
this is the last time we're letting you outside the house. Did you guys ever try to run away from home?
I never did. It was always something where I even as a kid, no matter how mad I got, I never actually considered it because I just knew it's like, well, I'd either die or probably just come back. Like, that was always what I had in my head, like, that I would probably die if I ran away.
I did one, the classic, like, 5 or 6, like, take your, like, Hot Wheels rolling set, throw a couple of cars and some army men in there, make it pretty much the end of the pathway, and then turn around and come back. I had one of those.
The Hot Wheels used to come in like
You always
a box,
think about it.
where you could hold the box up and you take it out and it's like, fuck.
My parents
Yeah, no, I had
were-
one of those, and that's exactly, I just put a bunch of Hot Wheels and some army men in a roll-away Hot Wheels case.
I can see
And
Devin
headed out
trying to
there on my
pay
own.
like a bus ticket with it. Like, all right, well, I have a slinky.
It's like, son, do you have any cab fare? It's like, well, I have these Pokemon cards if you like.
Yo, man, one time my mom, and this is still, I love my mom to death. This is still one low-key thing that I'm still kind of upset about.
Ooh.
One time I came home from
Listen
somewhere,
close, Mrs. Bramble.
and she had sold, me and my brother had a bin of Pokemon and Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It was like thousands of cards, and she sold it at a garage sale for like $20. and we weren't even like away at college or anything. We were like 15. We were like at a friend's house, and then I came back, and they were gone. It wasn't even like I came back from college and sold your Pokemon cards. Like I came back later that day and was like, "Hey, where'd my cards go?" Like I sold them.
Like it's fuck? Not even, like that means you
that
means you looked at them. It's not that means you noticed them frequently.
Yeah,
too.
no,
like,
no, I noticed them immediately.
Like,
they were out. They weren't like in the back of the closet. They were in a prominent area. I walked in my room and said, "Hey, it's my fucking cards."
that means your mom was like planning on that for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know,
the
man.
First opportunity, it's like, all right, these are fucking gone.
Like,
yeah, these are at it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I do not know to this day about this, because my mom is really like sensitive and aware about that sort of thing. So I don't know. Maybe she just hadn't seen us play with them in a while and figured we hadn't.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of, and I guess that's possible because I wouldn't have played much of it at home or anything anyhow. And I don't, it wasn't all the cards that we had.
Right.
It was just like a miss. I didn't like lose all my cards. Like I had like my regular various decks and other things.
Yeah.
But it was like a big bin of missed cards. I don't know. Maybe she thought like, oh, these are just garbage cards, or like these weren't cards in active use or whatever.
Still, she sold them for $20. Like,
yeah, it was like $20 or $30 or something. They were definitely There was definitely several $100s worth of cards.
Yeah, you could have argued one of those cards is worth $20 at least. Like,
yeah,
if
like
it's
nothing,
a good one,
nothing crazy. There was nothing like, oh, my super rare Charizard was in there. But there were plenty of cards that you would have been able to sell for $3 to $5, $10. That
was it
sort
mostly
of thing.
like first 100 Pokemon? Like
no, it was just it was various stuff, but like booster pack stuff that we'd collected over years. So, like I said, nothing in there that I could think where it's like, oh, my $500 card was in there. But plenty of like general rares and stuff. Plenty of stuff that would have sold for $3, $5, $10. For 1,000 of them, it would have added up. So at least a couple $100s in there.
Well, people make like thousands of dollars from selling Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah.
And Pokemon started off as a card game, but I wasn't.
Did it? I thought it started off as a manga. I didn't know what came
Maybe
first.
It did. I thought it started off as a card game. I wasn't introduced to it as a card game.
You think the cards came first?
I think the TV show came first.
The show?
No, I think the show. I think the show was the last thing. I think the cards are really popular.
I
that
gotta
people were
know.
like,
I'm
we
trying
got to
to-
make a show out of this. Like kids will watch.
Let's
this
call
shit.
Dana and see if we can have that kid Frankie come here and
I'm
look that
trying
shit
to
up.
say- because
Let me look
I mean,
this up.
by the
I'm
time
a fan that never was.
Yeah. Just a little tangent.
See, I think what happened-
Last time we had Dana on, and her like sort of kind of squatter of a roommate. Like,
I
was
I love how he's probably
was
listening
there.
to this.
Yeah, right. He
He's
was
a nice
there,
guy.
and like
I like him.
we were just treating him like
I don't know,
Jamie from
places.
we were treating him like Jamie from the Joe Rogan podcast. We're just like, yo, Frankie, Jamie, could you pull that on?
Dude, look this up. But I think what happened was the cards were really popular. That they're like, fuck, what else can we do with this? And they made like a show. And
all right, here we
game.
go. This is it, according to Google. The franchise began as Pocket Monsters Red and Green, later released outside of Japan as
I'm
Pokemon
dumb. Of
Red
course
and
the video
Blue.
games were first. I'm
Yeah.
stupid. Why did I think... Yeah, the video games were of course
A pair of
first.
video
I know that for a
games.
fact because the dude who made the video game made the Pokemon. That's actually super embarrassing that I said
No,
that
yeah.
because I know that the dude who designed the original Pokemon for the game made Pokemon.
Devin's just like, oh, all my Pokemon homies are gonna take my
They
clout
are,
away.
yeah. Because no, that was the thing. He
He's
used to
losing
like
clout now.
he used to like collecting bugs and shit. And so he
True.
like made a game that was like, and he used to collect bugs
Pocket
and like
Monsters is
make
what
them
it's
fight.
called.
Yeah, he used to collect bugs and make them fight. So then he made a game where it was like you go around and collect different things and you make them fight. Yeah, the games definitely came first. I don't know why I think that fucking anime came first.
And then the show was like third. I was introduced to the show first though. I thought like the show was just the first thing.
Yeah, that I was introduced to the show first,
yeah.
and then I played the games, and then I got the cards.
I think that's the way most people in like who grew up in the 2000s experience it. Because if you grew up with it in the 80s, you probably bought the games, then the cards, and then the show.
Yeah.
But then like if you were 10 years old in 2003, it was like, all right, you see the show on TV,
Ash,
and then you learn that there's games and cards available.
Pokemon Yellow was the first game that I ever got.
The only one I ever
that was when
got
Pikachu
was
follows you around.
yeah. The only one I ever got was Diamond.
Wow,
Because
that's
I remember
And
that
Gold.
because I was not a Pokemon. I was like a Dragon Ball Z fan, and I had like a weird kind of like mentality where it's like, man, fuck Pokemon, it's all about Dragon Ball Z. We're the badasses over here going Super Saiyan. You guys with your little pussy
You know what?
You
That's
got guys with long hair.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
It's just dudes with long hair.
I really hated Dragon Ball Z when I was younger. And then by the time most dudes moved on to girls, then I got really big into Dragon Ball Z. Like, don't get me wrong, I was still super geeky, but I, like, in classic Devin pretentiousness from the fucking crib, it was like, oh, well, I like Digimon and Pokemon and all these fucking dumbass, like, regular jock-ass kids, they were watching Dragon Ball Z because it's just people punch each other. Yeah. But then, again, once, in middle school, then I got really into Dragon Ball Z, and of course, by that point, dudes had moved on to women.
By that point, people had,
by that point, I like things a friend of my dad's that worked. Yeah, like by that point, a friend of my dad that I worked with was like getting me imported Japanese dubs of the fucking show, and I was like trying to talk about it in school, and they're like, "We're trying to talk about pubic hair now."
Yeah, it's like, dude, it's like, dude, we're all watching grandma's kisses.
Yeah. And it really was this. They were like, dude, I got the fucking straight from Japan. I got fresh episodes of Dragon Ball Z, and they're like, we're searching on YouTube, girls kiss naked.
Yeah.
So,
girls kiss.
We're on YouTube
until people eventually I had.
We're just searching for titties on.
Remember that, like back in the day?
We just boobs.
Did you guys ever go to boobs.com?
Yeah.
Yo, I remember boobs.com.
Just pictures of boobs.
It was literally
I always tell myself I should probably stop saying this story, but I probably said it publicly enough, and it's always funny to me. Where when I was a kid and I first started watching porn, I was like, I can't relate to all of this. These people might as well be 50 to me. I mean, even the 18-year-olds, you're like 14, and even the 18-year-olds, like, they might as well be 35. So I was like, are there porn with people like my age, right? Like, is there porn for kids?
Oh, there is.
I did.
Devin was into child pornography before it was cool.
Wait, could I maybe find porn?
I was in the middle.
Child porn.
I was in the middle of Google, 14 years old, Googling child's porn before I was like.
No, I had the same.
I have the exact same. I didn't actually get to the ender stage. I got probably the child PO before even at that point I was like, wait a minute. Wait, no, that's no. Wow. See, before the knowledge connects, and I was
had the same story from last week. I feel
That'd be funny, the feds knocking on your door, hoping to find some predator, and they just find a 14-year-old boy with a boner. I get that though. I mean, that makes sense because it's you want people your own age.
Well, yeah. At that time, I remember when I was 11, because I would try to watch porn, but you don't get it. I would literally look up I would type in 11-year-olds having sex.
Yeah, dude, there's got to be something.
Your father's just frantically deleting the search history. It's like, Jesus Christ.
They found my stash. You know what's interesting? You're talking about Dragon Ball Z though.
It comes up in the search history.
Bringing it back, but do you have some of my friends in high school? They became after when they became potheads. Then they would get high and watch Dragon Ball Z. And for me, it wasn't good pot television because. I was a pretentious fuck too, like Devin. I was just there's not enough character development here. Where's the motivation?
What are you talking about? Goku's I don't know.
It comes around.
It's I don't know.
He's cool.
I liked Vegeta. He was always
Vegeta's probably the most well-rounded character in that show because of all of them, he's the one who definitely has the most I don't know, the most trials.
He's the anti-hero.
He's the one who's always struggling because he's just never going to be as strong as Goku, and he hates himself for it. But he's still pretty much stronger than a lot of the other people.
Yeah.
But he's still kind of an asshole.
Yeah,
he was a good character, but you're right.
He's the Wolverine.
I definitely get how Pokemon could have been seen as this sort of real
but not
real
just that
type of thing,
Monster Rancher, some more stuff that was just more than, or even at that point I was watching Gundam and other stuff on Toonami.
True.
It seemed whatever. It's extremely.
I was watching the animated X-Men and Spider-Man. I was always more into that.
Yeah,
I mean the X-Men show is good. That Spider-Man show does not hold.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Spider-Man.
Oh, sorry. What is it?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not a fan of Spider-Man or the X-Men. Batman the animated series.
Batman. I was just about to say the animated series of Batman.
I don't know if you guys have HBO Max, but it just got added on the first.
Really? I saw that. I was like, I'm gonna fucking watch it. And honestly, Mask of the Phantasm is one of the best Batman movies all around. Like, the original. I might rewatch it. I mean, I don't know. The original X-Men show I remember being pretty good.
It's good.
I'm just not that into the. I guess it's more. I'm not that into superheroes. So it really depends on a show by show basis. For me, it's more about the show than the superhero, than the conceit of it. And just the Batman animated series, so just like a really well rounded. And there's a lot of super interesting
like
plots
drama.
And shit.
Yeah, some of the episodes.
Bro, I watched an episode where today where Batman gets like knocked out by the Penguin, and this kid finds him in an alleyway, takes him inside, and he's like trying to nurse him back to health. And then the Penguin shows up looking for Batman with his like henchman, and he's like trying to fight this kid and his friend as they like try to protect Batman. And eventually Batman wakes up and beats their asses. But what I like is that the house is destroyed. The mom comes in and she's pissed off, and then she goes down to the basement and Batman's there. And then Batman's like, "I'm sorry for the mess." And the kid goes, "Hey Batman, you single?"
Wow.
And I was like, "Yo, this episode has this kid's trying to get Batman to fuck his mom."
Yeah, right. Like Batman's like, "Yo, Batman, you want to tap that?"
Yeah.
Batman,
the way he says it with like a
Batman. I don't want to. I know she's my mom and everything, but double D, like a
He says it with like a smirk and a wink in a way that it's like.
Imagine having Batman like becomes his stepfather and be like, "It's time for bed." Like, shit.
I said no more ice cream.
Or there was another good one where like the Mad Hatter puts Batman in a dream where his parents don't die. And like he's the same age, so it's his parents are still alive, but he's like something is off.
Great.
He's like something is weird,
that
something is
really
off.
Good. Yeah.
He goes to like a therapist, he talks to doctors and mad people, and he's like, something about this whole thing just doesn't seem right.
And the way he finds out, I remember, like I don't want to spoil it because you should watch it, but the way he finds out, at the time of watching it, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's still pretty crazy now. But the whole thing's like the Mad Hatter's like, "Hey man, I created the perfect world for you, right? You was bitching about how your parents are dead. Well, they're alive now, motherfucker." And like he has this whole going thing with like Catwoman where like they sort of want to be together, but the dynamics of who they are makes it so that they can't. Mm-hmm. So it's like he's still rich and he's still famous and he's still Bruce Wayne. His parents are alive. He's together with Catgirl. It's like all the scenarios that he wishes could happen if he wasn't Batman. Yeah. But then the Mad Hatter's like, "Oh, what do you want, motherfucker?" But this part of it that was kind of laughing. He's like, "What do you want, motherfucker? I was whining about it. You can't be having your parents are dead. Well, here you go."
It's like you can't. Like I gave you the thing you wanted.
It's like, I mean, it's almost like, what if like Batman listened? Like, would the Mad Hatter have to just constantly be expending energy to make this fantasy?
I think he like listen.
It's like, oh, am I still really working on Batman? It's like fantasy land. Like I'm kind of tired of it. Like,
but they're like super like there are a lot of like really philosophical episodes.
There's one where I forgot. There's one where like the villains are like. They like meet at like a bar or something, and it's just an episode where the villains tell stories about all these times that they almost killed Batman.
That's fucking awesome.
And they like didn't. Yeah, it's a fucking great one. Like yeah, it's like the Penguin, Poison Ivy or something. I think like
Joker's gotta be.
It might be Joker too. I don't remember.
Joker.
It's been years, but. Yeah, no, they just tell stories. I think it's like about like how they all almost got him. Like like we almost like I was so close this one time. Like, and it's just really interesting because it's like it's funny to think. It's just cool to think of your favorite villains all like hanging out at the bar. Like Batman
trading stories.
That reminds me though. Do you remember the episode where all the villains capture him and take him to Arkham Asylum? And they put him on trial.
Yes, it's very similar.
And they claim that Batman is the reason why they are the way they are.
Yeah.
And basically, and I forget who, but someone gets brought in as Batman's defense attorney. Like, Batman successfully argues that if they're going to put him on court, he has to have, like, an attorney.
Johnny
and I forget who. It was a woman, but I can't remember who. So they each like lay out their stories, and it's like I would have been a normal person if it wasn't for Batman. Like if he didn't punch me into a vat of ooze or whatever, I would. So they all have these stories where it's why it's Batman's fault the way they are. But in the end, she successfully argues that it's also their fault why the reason that Batman is a lunatic, and they accept that.
Well, it's like the Joker said in The Dark Knight. He's like, listen, we are like compatible. Like we literally like we're the yin and the yang. We need each other in order to survive.
Well,
in order to justify our actions.
Yeah. It's one of those classic themes of the Batman story, which is just like, does Batman make Gotham worse just by being there? Because Gotham was already a bad city, like according to the story, that it was already like fucked up. But they didn't have all these like, you know, these like circus freak like attackers, like basically literally just like people wearing costumes fucking shit up until Batman came. Like, you know, Batman scares the regular criminals off the street, but then he invites like the crazy psychopaths.
People see this like guy as a vigilante, and because people I think are used to a normal set of structure where the only authorities that can stop crime are the police. So when people bring it into their own hands to stop crime, people see it as like they want a reaction because it's not fair. They're bending the system to their advantage.
It's considered being a vigilante. Like, you know, it's like it's even illegal. Like, it's funny that it's weird. It's like illegal to take the law into your own hands. Like, you know, if
although
you see
citizens arrest
wrong,
is legal.
Well, you could make citizens arrest, but like if you see somebody like attacking somebody, I'm pretty sure it's illegal to like try to fight them.
No, you can. You
think you can?
Yeah, you can. You can do self-defense.
Well, self-defense is well, but let's say you just saw someone getting attacked, and you're like, well, I could grab that like pipe over there and beat him to death.
Well, because if there's an equivalent force element, you can't be like, these two dudes are having a fist fight, so I'm going to shoot one of them in the head. You can enter the fist fight. Like you can.
Well, they're not fighting anymore, are they? Like listen, I know he's dead, but are they fighting?
Like,
just answer that.
An argument.
Answer the question. Are they fighting anymore? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No, I win. There you go. Okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely weird. I mean, it's one of those things that as like a kid you always think like, man, like, you know, you ever have those moments where as a kid you just catch like a minute of like a fucked up documentary your dad's watching about like a serial killer, and they're just like Ted Bundy would like rip their eyes out of their skulls and then fuck them, and then they're just like, holy shit, I wish I could just like kill every single serial killer and like murder every bad person, but then it's like, imagine you tried, like you'd probably just get fucked up. Like,
but I mean, also, then it would get to. It gets to a point, it's like, what right do you have to do that? Yeah. And then a lot of the time people get corrupted by that power. And it's also subjective about what right do you have to dole out and decide which punishments. You're not Judge Dredd. Yeah. Who are you to decide like which punishment is equivalent for what crime or whatever?
You're not even Dexter. I mean,
so Dexter was like, that's the thing. I was excited to discover that show existed, and then I watched it and I was like, I actually don't think that idea is so good.
I always love Bill Burr's bit where he's like, you can't just do that. I'm trying to remember because it's been a minute.
You can't just do that.
Where like you can't. Where he's like, if I had a son that killed serial killers, like I would probably still turn him in. Like I'd get him help, but it's like you can't do that. You can't murder for a good.
Like, listen, they were bad people.
Reason. It's like you still can't do that.
Well,
really. The justification is like kind of like, you know, it's like, well, they're bad. It's like, yeah, but.
Well, that's my whole That's my whole argument for why I don't believe in the death penalty. Is because it's like, I don't think that anyone has the right to take another person's life. And it's like, if you break it down to like those events, it's like, you know, this person was a piece of shit his whole life and whatever. But it's like, what right do you have to say that this person can no longer be alive? You know, and it's like.
Plus, wouldn't you want them to just live and like hate themselves longer?
I think that shit's worse, my man.
I would rather like if I heard I was like let's say I was like a murderer and let's just say in a hypothetical scenario that's definitely not real.
But I have these bodies in the backyard.
Let's just say like fictionally.
Let's just say and sign these waivers that I made. These non-disclosure agreements.
And actually here, hold on, let me go get my notary stamp.
My notary public.
I stamp it. I got notarized it.
I have my notary Carl here. You can go ahead and stamp it.
You have a lawyer
let's
on
just
stamp.
say that I may have murdered 25 people. No, but, you know, if I was a murderer and I got caught and they put me on jail and they're like, all right, death penalty. In my head, I'd kind of low-key be like, score.
Yeah, but
it's just like that means you're
getting shocked that's
you don't get shocked anymore. They don't do that
they
anymore. They do it's lethal injection or nothing,
which still isn't much better.
Which lethal injection is bad, but imagine you're just like being forced to OD on heroin. Like that's basically what it is.
But the thing is like a lot of people are like waiting on death row for like,
well, that's the thing. You can be on there if you appeal it a lot, especially you can be on there for over a decade.
I mean, people have been on there for like
and it almost you spend more money on appeals and shit than like it's kind of it's not a great system. It's like to legally kill somebody, when you put that on paper, it's like, what are we doing? Like, we should just
I think there's a lot of logistical reasons, like you can never be sure that any one person did a crime or whatever. That's why we have appeals. You don't want to kill anybody and then found out that they didn't do it. Right. That's pretty heinous.
Which has happened a lot of times.
Yeah, that's like top of the line heinous shit for a legal system. Yeah, but also I also agree with you. Just baseline, you just shouldn't be. It's not. I believe that. Like a legal system of a country sets up an ethos that the people have in mind.
Agreed.
And it's just like, I feel that it's too vengeful of an ethos to have as a civilization.
It's barbaric.
It's too...
Because we base it more on like, oh, this person got what they deserved, and less on like, well, like, this, the streets are safer now, and like crime is less likely to be committed in the future. Yeah. Nobody really thinks about that when it comes to justice.
Well,
people just think about mentality. Like, well, did we punish them?
Yeah, and it's precisely that. It also makes you a society that's more focused on like punitive revenge than like actually making the society safer.
And also, like we tend to like look at prison sentences as being too, like, we're so used to these huge prison sentences.
Yeah,
people were like pissed off that was that actress Lori Loughlin got like 6 months in prison. Yeah. It's like 6 months in prison.
Yeah,
it's a long fucking time.
Also,
pretty fucking
long, I think what she did is heinous and gross and endemic of like systematic issues we have in our country, but it's certainly not worth more than 6 months in prison.
It's just like, the fact that like
it's a fine-worthy thing, but it's certainly not like prison-worthy.
No, I don't.
Like it's like corruption, and not even like. Not like wholesale corruption, just like minor, like private scale corruption.
I mean, if someone said that I had to go to prison for 4 days, I would be like, fuck! Like,
or even just like you see people get sentences that are like 3 years. It's like, that's an incredible amount of time.
Yeah, that's literally
3 years of your life.
While.
That's an entire every day.
You get out.
I couldn't rectify like 3 years.
Your family members could die in that time. Yeah, like you could.
Mad shit could change. Yeah. About 3 years ago, like
I think about like 2017. That's like if I went to jail in 2017 and I just got out. Like,
and you'd be a different person.
Yeah,
like it has such an effect on your morality. Being in prison for a night is a fucking night. Like it's just we just think of. I think we have this go-to guttural reaction when we hear about anything scandalous. We're like prison.
Yeah.
For like no matter what it is. And dude, people shouldn't be like some people shouldn't be in prison. Some people don't commit crimes because of like they're bad people.
It's crazy
they're just fucked up in the head.
Well, it's just also crazy to think of people who are in jail who've been in jail for 20 years and like their crime is like just a weed crime. Like there's shit from like decades ago in our history when like the law still didn't favor that, and like people are still in jail for like having like a 20 bag on them, and it's like. Like, imagine, like, you're just in prison for that.
Or a lot of places with, like, 3 strikes laws, where it's like, even it's like you get caught in, like, petty theft 3 times. They're like, we're going to give you 15 years. And it's like, I don't know about
it's a little fucked.
It's a lot of time. Like that's a lot of... They're like, well, we got to make sure they don't commit petty theft again. It's like, well, I don't think the punishment fits the crime.
Like, look, all right,
I don't think the possibility of a petty, like, of the theft of $200 or something is worth
like an equal, like
taking away a person's ability.
Okay, we let him out of jail and then he kicked a mailbox. What do you expect from us?
Yeah, it's like,
am I supposed to bend over backwards for this guy?
He's rotten.
Yeah, because the idea is like, well, they've committed so many crimes in a row where like the possibility of rehabilitation is slim, and it's like for certain crimes I could see that, but for other minor crimes. It's like the chance that they might do better the 4th time is worth the risk of a petty theft occurring. Like to me, like it's not like something severe. It's not like someone. like, and that's why I like say like petty theft, where it's not like this is the third time that someone has completely defrauded a pension fund, so we're sending you away to the big house forever. Like that sort of thing I can understand.
Yeah.
But it's like we've caught you stealing $500 worth of something for the third time, so it's 20 years now. It's like that's
if they want to do like an actual transition, like
$600 cumulative dollars is not worth 15.
Like you stole $600, you get like 6 days. You know what I mean? Like a day for $100. That's what I would think.
It's also interesting to me how certain like crimes, like I remember. Do you guys remember when Mega Upload went under?
Yeah.
That whole thing happened. The owner of Mega Upload. Do you even know what Mega Upload was?
No.
It's just an old school like rapid upload or
good
like.
To see my co-host is very informed. No, Mega Upload is like a huge.
I don't know everything in the fucking world.
It's like Rapid Share, MediaFire.
Yeah,
it's just
like
LimeWire.
It was a big illegal downloading platform
Napster.
back in the day.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the owner, the CEO, when it went under, they gave him like 50 years, like 50 years.
Because that's why that's it's for that exact reason where they do that shit where they like do wild estimates where they're like, well, if for every download someone would have seen the movie 3 times, then technically this guy facilitated billions of dollars.
I know,
in
it's
debt.
like such
like
bullshit.
that's the way that they justify it.
It's like meanwhile, like you hear about rapists getting out in 25, and it's like, what does our legal system really care about here? Like, is it money and numbers, or is it actual morality?
Yeah, like Black Turner got out in like a year.
Yeah,
Black Turner went to jail for not even a year. He went to jail for 6 months. He's someone where I'm like, 6 months. It's a little too fucking short for like raping a passed out person behind a dumpster. Yeah. 6 months is kind of short.
I give him at least 6 months in one day.
You know? Yeah, I mean,
you know what? Here's the
thing. Maybe like 7 months.
Rape is an especially heinous crime.
Don't go on a limb there.
Because there's no reason to do it.
Yeah.
Like all other crimes, there's some situation in which you might have to do that crime.
Yeah, there's
no reason.
Even kind of murder, like you might even be able to swing it.
There's lots of reasons that you might have to murder
someone. You might say
for one reason or another.
Say let's say like even something where it's not justified, like there's somebody in your job who's like actively fucking you over in the job, and if you lose the job, your kid is like Tiny Tim, and he won't get the medicine that like saves him from polio. Or like, you might think like I have to murder that guy, otherwise I won't survive.
And you can argue that in court.
You would never think like, well, clearly the only thing I could do is rape that guy.
Exactly.
Unless somebody was trying to murder you and you used like rape as a defense mechanism.
But even that's just assault. There's no need to make it sexual.
Plus, it's also just like
it doesn't need to get that long too. It doesn't need to. Like, all right, I'm no longer assaulting you. Can you please stop raping me?
There's no need.
Plus, you'd have to be a pretty damn good at raping someone to turn it over on like a killer. Like this guy's stabbing you with a knife.
Imagine you see that like a Jason Statham movie where like all these guys are like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, and then he takes one and he just like rapes the guy in front of
that's what it would be. Yeah. If you saw John Wick rape one of the henchmen, you'd be like, what the fuck, John? You'd be like, what the absolute fuck? You're like, I watched you cold-bloodedly kill 30 people with families. Like that one guy you just killed was clutching a photo of his daughter as he died, and that I was willing to let go. But you didn't have to rape that guy.
The other people,
there was no reason.
His other henchmen were just like, Jesus.
Yeah, they're like,
we're going home.
Dude. They put their guns down. Dude, we didn't sign up for this, man. I could have got shot in the face, and I would go to my grave knowing that that's the life that I chose. But, geez, Luis, man.
God.
The guy
he tries to go back to the hotel. They're like, John, we can't let you back in here, man.
Fuck?
Like, what did you raped? They can't even take. They're talking about murder and stuff. They can't even.
It's like, dude.
John's like, I'm an anti-hero. Like, no, you're not. You're just a bad person. You're just evil. Like,
the Punisher would be like, he did what?
Damn, John Wick is darker than I thought. Could you imagine if
they just glossed over it?
Could you imagine if instead of like
John, the Punisher said, I just arranged a bunch of Nazis into a Star of David and then set them on fire. That's too much, John.
I never involved my penis.
But raping somebody, jeez, Louise.
Well, could you imagine if that's what happened in like Avengers, like Endgame?
You'd be like, what?
They all just like gang rape Thanos.
Yeah, you'd be like, whoa.
It's like, hold on, like I get it. He made half the population vanish, but like this is fucking.
You'd be like, absolutely not, man.
The movie just ends by like Thor and the Hulk just raping him, and then
you'd be like, wow, that was jarring.
It's like, wow, like I mean, yeah, the action was great. I'm glad they got all the characters, but that 20-minute rape scene at the end with the Hulk, Thor, and
that
Thanos,
took a dark
that
turn.
was a little much. It was 20 minutes too. I mean, shit, in a 3-hour movie.
You just see Thanos limping away. You're like, all right, I'm moving on.
Yeah, he's just like,
I just like the idea. I like the idea of a bunch of people just being in a car at home and they're like, "That movie was pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good. I like the action. Yeah, it was a nice ending for everyone. Yep. Was unsure about the rape thing. I'm glad you said it, dude. What the fuck? Everybody in the car is like, "Oh fuck, dude. I'm glad somebody said it." Because holy shit.
I was just going to bury that beneath my subconscious and just go about my week.
I'm going to be honest, I thought I had a fever dream, man. It's good you say something, because I thought I seized out there.
It would be funny if all the original, like at the end of Avengers Endgame, all the original Avengers were just raping them, and then all the other ones come back to life, and they just seem like, wait, what's going on? Like, I think, I don't know how I feel about it.
It's kind of how I feel about, like, that, even as much as I love this movie, it's kind of how I feel about that scene in Pulp Fiction, where it's like, where, you know, with Marcellus Wallace, where it's like he just walks in and he's getting raped, and I'm like, you know, that whole storyline is entertaining, but you're also just kind of like, why? Like, why did any of this have to be filmed and, you know, made for a movie?
You could, like, break their arms and stuff. You could do a bunch of physical...
Yeah, he could have been, like, torturing him. Maybe he was, like, trying to get his money, but, like, no, it was full on, like...
You ever, like, I remember I watched the remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in theaters.
Yeah, that movie was fucking brutal.
Well, so I saw the Swedish version first, and yeah, there's a rape scene. I didn't know... Like, I saw the remake in theaters it was like a packed theater, and a rape scene happened. And it's interesting when a rape scene happens in theaters, because there's no right way to react to that.
I've never seen that before. Like, I've never actually been... I've never been... Because I've watched plenty... Believe me, I've watched plenty of movies with rape scenes, okay? I'm no
rape expert.
I'm no rape expert now, but, yeah, no, it's like you watch a movie that has a fucked up scene like that, it's like, you know, when you're alone, you'll be like, oh, God. Yeah. But then, like, I've never been in a movie theater and just, seen a scene where I'm just like...
Because, like, on a violent scene, everybody will be like, on a violent scene or, like, an action, you'll be like, oh, shit! But you can't do that in, like, a rape scene.
Yeah, you can't be like, oh, fuck. You're
dude,
pretty much
what
just
the
like,
fuck?
Ooh.
Yeah, everyone
or someone's just like, yo, I did not expect that!
Everyone was just quiet. They're like,
okay.
What if everyone's just totally quiet? Then one guy's just like, the cinematography is unbelievable.
I think that would be weird to yell at any point in the movie, even if it was good.
True.
Or just somebody walks in and says, "Hey Bob, where are you? I got the popcorn." Like that.
What row are you guys? Oh God, what is
Shut up! We're
movie?
trying to watch this rape scene for some reason.
It would be especially weird considering that scene takes place like 30 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Right. Why are you showing up with popcorn now, man? It's
like you're mad late, Bob. Like,
go home. You missed the movie.
Yeah. Well, it's always like a gamble. I always make sure because like the reason I found out somebody told me this, the reason that the popcorns are so much bigger than the drinks is because they want you to go back and get more drinks from being thirsty from the popcorn.
But if you get the biggest size, it's unlimited refills, my man.
That's true.
But why wouldn't they just make why wouldn't they make
if I'm going to like I feel like I actually will like do the whole concession stand thing because if I'm going to the movies, I'm not like a movie goer, right? So if I'm going to the movies, I'm doing the whole thing. I'm getting the popcorn, the drink, maybe a pretzel. Like I go to the movies so rarely. I maybe go to the movies 2 or 3 times a year at most. So when I do it, I'm mostly like, I'll do the whole thing. Yeah. Get the popcorn and the drink. And
the last movie I actually saw in theaters was Die Hard, believe it or not.
Yo, I just saw Die Hard for the first time.
What do you think?
A couple of days ago. It was pretty good.
Right?
Nice.
It was a good movie. It was
one of our favorite
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, it was dope. It was dope.
How do you feel about it being considered a Christmas movie?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely pretty Christmas related.
Yeah, no, the whole time like that.
Yeah,
but he's reconciling over Christmas. That's also part of what makes it a Christmas movie.
True, yeah.
He isn't just like there for some unrelated reason. he's like there to go to the Christmas party.
Yeah,
and reconcile with her
like,
at the Christmas party. Yeah. So not only is it Christmas themed, and it's during Christmas and the whole thing, but the plot does centrally revolve around Christmas.
Yeah, and I feel like if a movie like has Christmas in it for the most part, unless it's like
even Gremlins, I would consider.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, Gremlins is.
If a movie ends on Christmas, like you guys watch that movie Green Book. The one that everyone...
Oh, the Green Book?
The one I like that movie. It ended on Christmas, and I was like, it's a Christmas movie.
No, I'm good.
I thought you were like...
I do have something, but I'm also...
Sneezing. Are you sneezing, or what the fuck?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were about to, like, totally shit on the Green Book, or just...
No. I was just...
cough or what?
I was waiting outside for a minute, so I got, like, smoker's cough.
But... Yeah, I feel like the movie ends on Christmas. It's a Christmas movie.
Wow, fuck. Wait, what was the movie you just said?
The Green
Book. All right. You want to hear something fucking crazy about the Green Book? I don't know if you know that much about the Green Book.
I mean, I know that the general plot is just like, it's like a real like AOA Italian guy and like a gay black dude, and he's like driving him through the deep south.
Here's the crazy part.
And they're just like boys.
The black dude, his family is not consulted at all.
Oh, yeah.
They were not consulted at all. They had no idea that this is occurring until the movie went to come out. And apparently, the film was written by the son of the Italian.
Yeah, dude. Nick Vallelonga, and
really?
The one who's the main character in the movie is the actor. Tony Lip is the actor who played Carmine in The Sopranos.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. The father and the son who actually made the movie approached the guy about making a movie about him, and he said no. And then after he died, they got it greenlit and made it anyway. And the family found out. And they were like, it's kind of not true. They weren't really like that close of friends or whatever.
They didn't like each other.
He only worked for him for like 4 months.
Yeah.
And apparently the family was like, he was like a real private guy who like really considered his like bodyguards like employees and was really like curt and frank and like hard on them even, and they never lasted more than a couple of months, that guy included. Like there were plenty more assistant drivers that he had beforehand.
So the whole thing is a giant sham. Yeah. It's a giant stinking pile of shit. That's what I'm hearing.
Wow. It's a nice movie.
No, you know what? It's a nice movie. The story itself doesn't have to be based off of a true... It's believable enough, or it doesn't have to be based off of a true story. I just hope that's not
how it was
presented. It's just the idea in it.
Experience the wonderful true story.
Oh, no, it 100% was. It 100% was marketed that way. The family just found out, just like saw an ad and was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so the family was like, they didn't actually like each other.
Yeah,
like life.
But he was also like, he didn't like a lot of his... He was a very professional person with his... He was a very private, professional person in general.
It's just like, we're not hanging out.
And he was
like, you're driving me, I'm in the car going to my place.
Yeah.
Like,
and it was like, they worked together for like 4 months, Lee fired him, and which was the relationship that he had with lots of people. He fired plenty of people after that, too. And they really only knew each other for a couple of months one time during this one thing. But it made it seem like they were like lifelong friends, and he was like, the movie ends with him like going to the Italian guy's house. They like eat a like a Christmas dinner together.
And meatballs.
Well, it's funny because the movie ends with him going into the guy's house, and like so he walks in, and like the family is like really old school racist Italian. And like
they're all like, "Hey, Vinny!"
No, that dude. So what happens is like the guy's name is Don Shirley, and he comes in, and like everybody's just quiet, and then like I don't know, the main character's brother's like, well, what are you waiting for? Get him a plate of pasta! Hey!
That is how it happens.
That's how the movie ends.
That is how it happens.
Jesus.
It is like, pretty nuts.
It's just so funny how easy it is to stereotype Italians.
Viggo Mortensen,
fully accurate it is.
He does put it on really heavy in that movie, too.
Viggo Mortensen like, hey, Vinny, Baba the Boobity, where's the pasta garlic Vino over here?
It puts on pretty heavily. Like, at one point, they, like, the black dude is supposed to, because, they're going through the South or whatever, and the black dude is supposed to perform at this dinner hall, but they won't let him eat dinner there because he's black. And the Italian dude, like, gets into a fight with them over it. And like part of it is nice, but like Jack said, he is playing it up super heavily. Viggo Mortensen is practically like, so you was meaning to tell me that he can perform at your fancy theater, but he can't eat at your dining room. I'm like, no.
His fingers are just right
like,
in
no,
the lady's
he really
face.
is though. Like he's going like he's really like
he's like, listen.
Hey, listen to your wise
He's
guy.
like, racism, forget about it.
He really is. Where I was like, whoa, man. I don't know if Viggo Mortensen's Italian or whatever, but you got to dial that back.
These Baba Gabons want to be racist over here.
And
I swear to my Mamma Mia's goats.
There are Italian people watching the movie like, hey, we don't talk like that. What's going on with this?
There's just Kenny's in the crowd. They're like, hey, we don't like black people.
Also, another thing though. Okay, so
when he teaches him to eat fried chicken.
That is also a part of it.
What?
No. Oh no, yeah. There is yo. Yes. There's a section of the movie. Now that I think about it, this is pretty wild. There's a section of the movie where Viggo Mortensen's character, the Italian dude, is eating some fried chicken.
He has like a big appetite.
Yeah, and he offers it to the black guy, and the black guy goes, "I don't eat fried chicken." And he's like, "What? You used to tell me you don't eat fried chicken?" It's a whole scene.
Oh yeah, and then he dangles. Oh sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and no, you can go. But basically, then he like gets him to eat some.
Well, he like dangles the piece of chicken. He's like, "Come on, eat the chicken." Yeah. And then like a minute later, like Don Mahershala Ali's eating the chicken. He's like, this is pretty good now that we talked about it.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Yeah, but actually another major part of the movie that I just remembered that was like patently false is that, so the thing is that he's like a classical musician during like the 40s and 50s. So like, jazz is still really big.
Yeah.
People expect him to be a jazz musician, but he's not. He's a classical pianist. So he's like antagonistic towards like jazz music, which was true about him. That was true about the guy.
Right.
Where he was kind of antagonistic towards jazz music because a lot of people put that on him when he was a classical pianist.
Yeah.
But the movie extrapolates that because of this, he was like isolated from black people and didn't relate to them, which was 100% not true. He was heavily involved in civil rights. He was a close personal friend of a bunch of civil rights leaders. He marched and did a bunch of stuff. The movie like straight up makes him like this like uncle. Part of one of the triumphant scenes of the movie is that after that scene where he can't eat at the diner, they go to this black diner. And he goes to the piano and he like starts to play classical music. And at first they're confused, but then they really like it. And then some like jazz guys get on the stage and they like play a big jazz song. And it's supposed to be like, it's it. He's finally connecting with his people.
Finally black.
Yeah. But that like couldn't be farther from the truth in real life.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so every aspect of that movie.
You're gonna make a movie
true.
Based on something that's
that
true.
was the only part that I thought was particularly heinous. The other parts where I was like, it's a cute story, it's all right, but they didn't have to be like, well, you see, because he plays the piano, he doesn't relate to him. They just don't get him.
Yeah,
like that. They didn't need to do that part.
Of all the things you could have exaggerated, you should exaggerate something that people will point out.
Also, Viggo Mortensen's like 60 years old, and the character is like 22.
Yeah, that's also
the guy is like in his late 20s, and they got Viggo Mortensen. So here's the thing: is that like after I watched the movie, I was like, "Oh, that was a sweet movie."
Yeah,
and then like
nice
finding
movie,
out about it, you're like, "Shit." Okay.
Yeah,
but I mean, it was still.
See, the thing is, Jack really liked the movie, and then we did this podcast with you, Devin, and now Jack is realizing.
No, I like.
Maybe that movie's kind of retarded.
The same thing happened. I watched the movie and then I liked it, and then when I was reading about it, I came across all this other stuff, and I was like, ugh. I was like, yeah, it's still a whatever. It's a nice movie. It's a nice feel-good movie, but yeah, when you find out about the reality,
like there's funny lines, and the performances are both great.
Yeah.
Like even though Viggo Mortensen like plays it up to 20, he's still like solid. It's like a sweet movie. Wasn't better than A Star Is Born. But
was it better than Parasite?
Roma. Oh yeah, you weren't a big Parasite fan.
Not a big Parasite fan.
I thought Parasite was fine. I
don't know. I'm not in favor of pedophile tutors. And that's what Parasite tried to sell to me.
The pedophile movie that I was talking to my
really
dad
the best
about
movie of all time is The Lighthouse.
Well, so I was gonna say the biggest pedophile movie was Call Me by Your Name. Did you see that movie?
No.
It's one of the biggest pieces of shit ever, and it was like nominated for a bunch of Oscars a couple years ago. And it's about like this guy who's like he's just some 17-year-old boy who lives with his dad in Italy, but they're both American, and his dad's a professor, and so like this student who's like 25 comes to stay with his dad to do research of like archaeology or whatever for the summer, and then over the summer the boy and the 25-year-old like develop a sexual relationship. Ooh. And it's like everybody was reviewing the movie like it's so beautiful, and I'm like, no, that guy is a predator.
Yeah,
He's grooming some fucking kid.
To be fair though, we have like a long-standing history of that in our culture.
Yeah.
Like stemming especially to Lolita, and then even before that.
Yeah, Lolita.
Yeah, like, there's a whole.
That's one of those.
People
movies.
Describe something as like Lolita-esque in like a good way, and I'm like, what? That's a little.
That's
weird.
one of those movies where I want to watch
it makes it like
it's...
chic about it, where like people when they're describing it and they're like, yeah, there's like a little Lolita element of it, and I'm like, well, that's your cool movie critic way of saying that like molestation occurs. Like that's you found like a very pretentious, very polite way to say that somebody's getting diddled in this feature film.
I mean, the thing about Lolita is I've never seen it. I want to watch it only because it's Stanley Kubrick. Like that about it is what. Like, I'm like, how could he have made that movie? Like,
I mean, the book is also like a long-standing classic as well.
Yeah.
And was like super influential in like Western literature in general. That's what I mean. I mean more Lolita the book than the movie.
True.
That Lolita the book goes way back in the Western canon.
Well,
It influenced a lot of things, and also like I mean whatever. I would say that it kind of gave like an artistic pretense for pedophilia.
Yeah.
But
like,
at the same
it might
time,
have. I mean, you could definitely argue. I don't know much about the story.
Yeah.
Only based on summaries I've read. But it might have at least popularized the idea that you can lust after like a person who's much younger.
You know what?
You,
That's also what I was gonna say though. But I don't think that it invented it or whatever. People lusting after younger people,
maybe popularized
even people who are like very inappropriately younger or like illegally younger. I think that that's still an element of like some people. And therefore, it's something that people relate to. I mean, even in our culture, the like 18-year-olds to like models or porn stars pipeline is a really big thing.
Oh yeah,
I mean that's the first biggest thing on the box. Like freshly 18 teens, 27 or whatever.
So that's why
the teen category is just like, what do you like? Like this whole category encompasses 2 years of age.
It also perturbs whatever. The older I get, it perturbs me more and more. Like there's elements of it specifically that
when you were a kid, you didn't realize it. Like, when you're a teen, you're like, well, yeah, of course, I'm looking for teens fucking. And then as an adult, you're like, oh.
But it's also a lot of time it's like not even teens. It's just like teens infantilized. So it's like, what's really supposed to be the attraction here? That's what's weird. It's like this person isn't actually a teen. It's just 23, and they look 17, young enough, 18, and now they've dressed them up in a certain way, and like that's who you're being attracted to. So it's like, what is it you're really into here? Yeah. It doesn't seem like you're into 18-year-olds. It seems like you're into immaturity,
or like teachers
someone
and
that you have emotional.
Porn is like,
or just like you might be into like a victim or something.
Yeah. I get that. I get a lot of time I see it. I get that vibe where it's like, the things that have been accentuated for you to be attracted to here are very odd.
I remember seeing a porno once where it's like the beginning of the video started with like the girl's like 18th birthday or something, and I'm just like,
I don't want to do
that. I didn't get far.
Honestly,
I skipped ahead just to see if I might as well.
A lot of times they're just pretty much like, these girls have no visible secondary sex characteristics. It's like puberty never happened at all. And then it's like, what? That's your line, but it's like that's your line. That's what's the real me in.
Shit, these people didn't go through puberty. Well, that's why you guys gotta watch that. I was telling Tom about this mini series I watched on Hulu called A Teacher, about this woman who is like a English teacher and she's smoking hot. She's played by Kate Mara. And she ends up like fucking a 17-year-old high school student who's a boy. And it's the thing about it is it shows it's like everybody makes the same obvious jokes and like, damn, I'd like to be her student, blah blah blah. It's just like, no, you don't. Yeah. It's fucked up. And it's like beneath all of the assumptions and all of the pretense, and it's like, well, it's consensual, he's legally 18. It's like, no, this is an abuse of power. This is horrible.
This is
what's the name of that Adam Sandler movie? I just found out it existed yesterday, Call Me Boy or something.
That's My Boy.
That's my boy. Yeah.
Yo, I just found out about that movie yesterday, and my friend had to explain it to me 10 times before, like, I could be convinced that was a real film.
You're like, it doesn't exist.
His teacher at like when he's 12. And, like, it's treated, like, that's the joke, is that he fucks his teacher.
Yeah.
And he gives birth to a boy, and then they grows up, and the boy becomes Andy Samberg.
Yeah. But he said...
This kind of is funny when you say it out loud.
Dude, it's fucking nuts. It's nuts.
Like, fucked up,
He said there's a scene in the movie. He said how they find out is that they're, like, having sex in an auditorium or whatever, and then, like, the curtains open up because other people are there, and they, like, see them having sex, and the teacher runs off, and then everyone gives... Teachers included, everyone gives Adam Sandler a standing ovation.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
what the fuck? Like, what the fuck?
And you know, it's weird. It's like,
It's like, did Opie and Anthony write this?
Dude, I'm like, what? I had to go. I was like, what is happening? How did this get greenlit?
Directed by Anthony.
Well, dude, Adam Sandler, like, writes all of his movies.
He didn't write that one. It was a different guy who wrote it, who's gone on to be equally horrendous.
He writes a lot of his comedy movies where he ends up, like, being the awesome guy.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
In all of his movies, he never takes any risk of, like, he's always like, I'm
how
the
old?
fucking man.
Yo, wait. When did this? Oh, this movie.
2012.
It's that recent?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that movie,
Holy
that makes
shit!
sense.
It
I had
has
a
a 20% on Rotten.
I had a friend who made me watch that in college, and I'm still angry at him. He was like...
Dude. And apparently, like, Andy Samberg grows up to be, like, a hardcore, like, lecherous alcoholic.
Written by David Caspian. Never heard of
And
that.
it's just played for laughs.
Yeah.
Like, this kid got molested as a child and has grown up to be, like, clearly an emotionally struggling adult. And it's just jokes. Like, there's not, I don't think it ever
They
comes
should make
around.
like a remake
just
of that.
jokes.
I want to make like a remake of That's My Boy, where it's like a serious drama. And it's
Yeah, like actually
It's
highlight
just like
how terrifying this is.
The implications are really dark and disturbing. Like,
and it's also, and it's just like does Adam Sandler really deserve a career comeback?
I mean, Adam Sandler has plenty of money. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
even
he
know
does
if
his
you'd
thing,
call it
man.
a comeback.
Adam
He never
Sandler
really
just like he's got a production studio and he makes movies with his boys and people like to consume them. So you know what? I can't really.
It's not
I
for
can't
me.
really not.
I can't
Although
not
I do
the
like,
hustle.
Even though
I
the
do
twist,
like
what
some
was
of
it?
his comedies.
The Twisted 12 or whatever.
The Hateful,
you mean
Ridiculous,
the Ridiculous Six?
The Ridiculous Six.
Yeah.
Was one of the worst movies that I have seen in recent memory. It was a couple
I saw
of years
that,
ago.
and I stayed as far away from that as possible as soon as I saw it existed.
Dude, that movie is nuts. There's a certain it's one of the first movies I've ever seen that's offensive to literally everybody.
Yeah.
There's no
Wow.
race. There's no race or creed that is not offended by this movie.
What's Adam
Jesus.
Sandler? He
At
loves
one
his,
point,
like-
at one point, there's a character that's supposed to be like slow, and at one point they hang him, but apparently like his neck is too thick to be hung or whatever.
Yeah.
So he starts swinging on his neck, and he's like happy while he's like, yeah, and it's just him on a hangman's noose swinging like a parabolum as he like yells, yeah, and has a great fucking time.
Who
And
wrote
it's
this?
horrifying.
Probably
It is
Sandler.
haunting.
Written and directed by Zach Zorovich. Oh, that's interesting.
Even Zach is above this shit, man. Dude, fucking
Zach
what's the
is
name
above
plays
this.
Zach Rob Schneider plays a Mexican dude who wears
Oh my God.
who
He's
wears
always
a
playing like a
Yeah, he's always playing a really racist foreign
he's
character.
always, just because you're like a quarter Filipino does
Yeah,
not
exactly.
give you the ability to pretend
He
to
plays
be
any
Mexican.
race, like-
yeah.
What's that movie? Is there a movie where he plays like a really racist, like Asian character? Like he's just like
Yeah, you don't mess with the...
Yeah,
no,
you-
not the Zohan.
not the Zohan.
I'm Chuck and Larry.
yeah, Chuck and Larry is
Where,
and
like,
he's just
they're
like
getting
oh, he's like
There was...
my name is
Yeah. And I mean, whatever. I'm not gonna gatekeep people's ethnicities or whatever.
No, I won't
But-
gatekeep it. I just
but-
like shitting on
but-
Rob Schneider.
No, but what I'm saying is, he'll do stuff like that, and people be like, "Yo, man, he could do that sort of thing. He's Asian, bro." I'm like, bro, he's a quarter Filipino. Let's not get let's not go crazy.
Like, first of all, Filipinos are they people?
Do they even matter? Well, dude,
no, but I mean I'm like I don't think being a quarter Filipino allows you to speak for all Asians. Let it know.
I don't even think it allows you to speak
half
for
Asian.
a lot.
They're like half Asian, half Spanish.
Don't they also like? I'm pretty sure they like hate Chinese people, right?
Most countries,
like
Chinese.
Most regions, they're
most regions.
No, I mean there's interregional beef.
Yeah,
I was gonna say. I mean,
remember seeing
a lot of Asian ethnicities don't like each other.
I just remember.
A lot of European ethnicities don't like each other as well.
Well,
and in Africa and in South America. I mean, that's what I think it would be unfair to say the Asian race is an aggressively hateful bunch. They can't get enough of hating each other. They don't hate each other. I know you weren't.
I was saying Filipino.
Yeah, but I know you. But I was gonna say that. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put that on Phil. I wouldn't say that's one.
I just remember seeing a stand-up comedian in the city. Like he was a Filipino guy. You may know this guy. He's like a bigger dude with glasses and like kind of longer. You may have seen him. It was at the Black Cat actually, and he was just like doing a bit where he's like, "I love being Filipino because means I get to be as racist to Chinese people as I want." And then he proceeded to do like almost a full set just to being racist to Chinese people.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, dude, I wasn't even laughing. I was just like, I'm impressed. Like, I'm kind of impressed. Like,
yeah.
That's a lot of Chinese. That's a lot of Chinese jokes.
That's more racist than I could have ever been towards anybody up there. Like, that's even Italians.
I remember one time I was at I was at one of the Creek in the Cave at one of their.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
I don't give a shit. Anyway, so
Jack's like, I've been there one time.
The Creek, I don't really care. Anyway, so I was at one of their mics, and this comedian came up there, and he's like, I don't really like Jews, and like everybody just started laughing. I'm like, wait a second, what the fuck's going on right now? And that was like the joke was like, I don't know, man, I'm just not crazy about the Jews, and it was like.
Well, no, that's a good point.
Like, well, can't argue there. No, but I was just, there was something else about the joke, and then I was like, fuck, man, that's fucked up. And so, like...
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the Creek guys, like, at the time, a lot of that clique made each other laugh by just being offensive to each other.
Right.
Knowing that they're like...
Well, this guy wasn't...
Like, whoa, he did it!
Like, this guy, so, like, I was like, yo, dude, like... Yeah, what's with you shitting on the Jews? I went up to him afterwards. He's like, nah, man. Like, I love Jews. That was sort of an ironic deconstruction of anti-Semitism. I swear to God, he said that.
I'll give that guy credit. That's pretty hysterical.
It is an ironic deconstruction of anti-Semitism. By saying I hate the Jews...
That
means
I'm
hating them.
That's pretty great.
I just love it when people can just say
comedians
and
their deconstruction.
Just say what are you doing? Just fucking be like, yeah, whatever. It was a stupid.
Or you should be like, I'm sorry. Like I thought it would.
Or you should say it was a dumb joke.
Yeah, I would have been like,
try to make it like an avant-garde. Like, no, you don't understand. I'm Picasso with this shit.
Well, I would have been like, all right, I told stupid jokes that people might have thought of as offensive. I'll do this.
do this fun thing.
Don't be like fucking up your ass about it. Like, you don't understand. There's layers.
He's like, let me explain it to you since clearly you're an idiot. No, but I do this dumb thing sometimes when it's like Christmas time. I'll be like, who here's excited for Christmas? And it's like, woo! And I'm like, yeah, fuck the Jew. Nah, I'm just kidding. kidding. But like, I just think that's like a dumb, funny, like...
That also comes from, comes from a different place. You can tell that it's related to that thing.
And it's more related to Christmas than the Jews. And it's like...
No, that's funny. And
but also, I wouldn't sit here and be like, well, look, Jack, like, I get it made you upset, but you just don't understand the irony of how I'm deconstructing the
But there's also a difference between, listen, I don't really give a shit. I wasn't, offended or anything.
Just I don't get offended. Shut up.
Shut up. It's not listen, I've told jokes that are, that are just late. There's a thing,
we all have lazy
if you tell a joke that's just, lazy and you realize, it could be hateful, it's like, all right, whatever. We've all done that. But, yeah, just, admit it. Just fucking be like, yeah, I told a stupid joke. It didn't land. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
I mean, you could also just be like, shit, I'm sorry, man. I didn't realize. Sometimes it's okay to just be like, oh, I didn't realize that was
The only time that ever happened to me where somebody confronted me about a joke they didn't like was I made a joke about anti-vaxxers. And a couple of people were like, well, we don't vaccinate our kids. What are you trying to say? I'm like...
You fucking retarded. That would actually be one of very few incidents where someone would come and say something to me about a joke and I wouldn't be contrite about it. Like 99.99% of the time, I'd be really empathetic and understanding. But if someone's like, we don't vaccinate kids, I'd be like, you should.
You should. You
should. You'd be like, now I'm gonna keep telling that joke, and now I'm gonna include this conversation we just had.
Yeah. I would tell them that. I'd be like, I hope you know that this is going in the thing.
This is part of it.
99% of the time, when a comic says someone said something after the show about my joke, they didn't. It's just a backdoor to sneak a tag in. I'm proud to say this will not be one of those times because this is going to that fucking
joke. This would be a genuine after the show tag.
And it's great because they can't be like, you can't put me in the joke. You're like, yeah, I can. Like,
what are you gonna do? Fight me? Like,
yo, that's funny. Of all the times that I've said I'm gonna put something or someone in a joke, I've never had someone say you can't do that.
You can't put me in a. How dare you?
It's such a hilarious concept for someone to be like, no, I'm gonna do it. What the fuck you mean? Are you gonna follow me around?
Yeah, so I'm gonna follow you to every mic ever.
It's like, could you please not? It's like, well, nah, it's too late now, bro. You fucked up. I can't see it.
I'm gonna go to every mic and show you ever.
Or it's like, all right. Since you really don't want me to, I won't put you in the joke. It's like, thank you. And then, like, later on, you follow him to a mic and you just see him doing the joke. It's like, motherfucker! You said you wouldn't.
Well, especially because when you say it, you don't usually include people's names. Although sometimes.
Yeah, also, it's like, I'm going to change your name. It's like, can you really just not handle the fact that you inspired a funny thought? Like,
yeah.
Sometimes I'll just name people in my own jokes.
Well, you'll literally say names of people on this podcast, and I've had to edit it.
Well, okay, sure.
What was your professor's name again? Right, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Almost got me a second time.
That's what I'm talking about. Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be back.
I have to come up with a fucking stage name.
Why?
I was realizing because like,
names are gay.
You're gay.
I guess we used it because you're a teacher.
Yeah. So I'm like, I can't have this found out about.
Yeah.
Oh well, fucking, I don't know. Stage names are a weird thing when people like. From now on, you're gonna refer to me as.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Just be yourself, Most, Yeah. Most of the time, like, people's real names are like not that much better than their stage names.
Yeah.
Fuck it. When was the last time you did comedy, anyway?
Maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably about a month ago. Yeah.
What was it like?
Not bad. It was pretty normal. Had a good time.
Okay.
It was. I wish I can always tell the difference when I haven't been doing it constantly.
Yeah.
Like it's really something you got to be doing every day to like to really get a groove. Yeah.
You feel like, oh, this is like my shit. This is where I belong. I'm talking about doing comedy. What else is
new? Doing comedy.
Doing comedy.
Yeah. Gotta love comedy.
All right, let's talk. We're having too much dead air right now.
Yeah, she's like
too much dead air.
Jack's like, I'm sorry, the only interesting co-host of the show left the room for 30 seconds. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I didn't realize this was make fun of Jack night.
I didn't realize this was hurt Jack's feelings.
I realize that's every night.
No, we love you. No, but yeah, comedy. Comedy's fun. I remember it. It's been a while.
I remember like
the last time I the last time I went up was at I did Jared Waters and Matt Aravallo's show. That was cool. It was freezing. It was outside in the cold. Like it was actually like the first time where I fully realized why we're seeing this like
unsustainable.
Why we're seeing this drought in like mics and stuff because like
it's
I actually got the chance to try an outdoor show and it's just like, all right, dude, like this is really hard.
You gotta bring a fucking space heater. It's
right. You have to be like 3, like because the crowd's also supposed to be distant, so people have to be like far away, and it's oh man,
and they're all masked up.
It's really like maybe you can get a fire pit going, but you can't. It has to be like everyone would have to get around the fire pit. You can't have 30 individual fire pits.
Yeah, right. Or like 10 space heaters just like each separated. Like
people like doing comedy are gonna be freezing. They're like, did you guys ever notice?
That's literally what it was, dude. We were freezing. I remember we're standing there. There's this one comedian who I met. His name escaped me right now. But he's like, literally, he was like bouncing up and down. He's like, dude, like, I hate to be a dick, but like, I feel like I kind of want to leave. And I'm like, I don't blame you. Like, and the only reason I'm not leaving is because, like, no offense to Matt and Jared. It's a great fucking show that they put on. And like, for what it's worth, I had a lot of fun hanging out and doing the show. Great. But like, I was like, no, I feel you, man. Like, the only reason I'm not like on your wavelength is because I drove out of here. So like, I might as well hang out. Right. But like, if I was you and I was like standing in that freezing cold, like I probably like it's not getting any warmer.
I remember being like,
I
remember being at like tiny cupboard mics in like October and being like, this ain't gonna last.
Yeah,
like, it was already
like
already in like late September, October. I was like, there's maybe a couple of more weeks of this because it was already brick as shit.
Even even in like September, like I just remember like out back One Eye Jacks, like you'd start to be like, whoa.
They gave up on that pretty quickly too. Which it was like nice at first. It was like we have an outdoor mic, and like during the summer, like more mics should be outdoor because it's nice out.
Yeah, during the summer, you're like, well, everything in comedy should be outside.
And then and then you get to like these time of the year, and this is gonna be like there's gonna be no comedy.
It's the same way I end up feeling about public transportation every year because in the spring or the summer, you're like, I don't know why everyone doesn't commute. I'm sitting at this bus stop and it's absolutely beautiful outside and the birds are chirping and I'm listening to my podcast and it's just great to be out. But then when it's like fucking winter, and you're like, son of a fucking bitch, I'm gonna die.
That's why I don't understand.
Why don't I have a car? I wish I had a fucking car.
That's why I don't believe people. You ever like see somebody like I actually prefer winter to summer. It's like shut up.
You know what? If you're a cold person,
psychopath.
I get it. If you're a cold person, just couldn't be me, man. I can't do it.
Well, dude, even if you're cold, like being cold is like being uncomfortable. Like, how can you be like, this is so much better? You know, like, how can you be like shivering and be like, yes, I love this?
You know what? I get that. I get that because, like, I can't sleep unless it's cold. Like, I still sleep with the window open now.
See, I'm the opposite.
Cold when I sleep.
I'm the opposite. I need it to be, like, dead warm. Like,
really?
It needs to be, like,
I need to be cold.
It needs to be almost, like, not like too, it can't be, like, hot. But it can't even be like a shred cold. It needs to be warm enough for me to sleep with like just boxers on. Like,
I'll put
I don't know why.
on a fan though. I need like circulating air, and I need to be kind of chilly.
I'm definitely a person who prefers like because I don't know. I hate being really hot, but the thing about being really hot is I think it's more like fun and easier to make yourself comfortable in heat than it is to do in the cold. Because in the heat, it's like all right, like. I could exercise, like I might heat up, but that might cool me off a little. Or like I could go swimming or like whatever. When it's cold, you're just like, oh, I just have to get tighter. I just have to pull everything in. Like,
and it's like
they're both horrible.
I would say they're both horrible.
Being too hot is really horrible.
The heat is about
the
the
heat
same
is
for me.
unbearable.
It's just me being like, I'm just fucking wet, man.
See, yes, that's the thing about the
heat. Is just
I hate
got
being
like
sticky.
You know what? I might say that if it wasn't for the, definitely for the stickiness, man. Because it's just like I'm just fucking.
Yeah,
moist.
you just get really.
Yeah, but like the summer is great because it's just like an all day thing. You're just chilling until like 9:30.
It's nice when it's like not hot.
Yeah, when it's like a 75-degree day.
Yeah. Or even like a low 80s. It's like nice out and it's sunny and you're like, it's cool. Because you also realize, especially in certain times of the early fall, it's really bright and nice out and the temperature's super nice. And you're like, at first you think, well, I'd like a bright sunny day, but then it's going to be hot because in order for it to be hot, it's got to be bright and sunny. But then you have like really nice bright sunny days in the fall and it's like super adequately temperatured. And you're like, it should be like this 24/7. Put a dome over it. Dome us all.
Put a dome over it.
Dome us.
Like, I mean, I don't know. A couple of years ago, like, I worked at a catering hall, and like, during the summer months, like, after every single shift, we'd all go back to my place and just, like, chill outside until 5 in the morning. And, like, that's the kind of shit, like, I don't know, summer is just, like, you spend so much time outside.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, it's, like, the parties.
Yeah.
And
plus, like, driving during the summer, like, windows down, like, blaring the music, that's always fun. Then in, like, the winter, like, sometimes I'll just, like, because, you know, I'll rip the pen or something, and I'll be, like, driving, and then it's like, oh, I don't want to, like, make my car all hazy. But then I feel like people look at me weird. It's like, dude, it's cold. Mind your window down. And it's like, mind your business, that's why, like... But, it's... Winter, there's fun things to do in winter, but it's just, there's no fun way to not be cold.
Yeah.
You know, there's no fun way to relieve yourself of the cold, like... It's always a fight. It's always a fucking struggle to, like, not be cold. Like, add another layer or, like, turn the fucking heat up or something.
It's also, like, every time you fucking turn on... See, for me, the big problem was, like, big pain in the ass is, like, every time I turn on my car, I have to, like, wait 10 minutes for it to defrost. Yeah. I have to get a fucking... one of those, like, scrapers, and it's just like a pain in the ass to do anything.
Snow is the worst shit ever.
Yeah, snow
I
is
fucking
the worst.
hate snow.
I'm
now.
so glad that living in an apartment, I don't have to shovel shit.
Yeah,
you're one of the biggest load offs for me is that when I hear someone goes, "It's about to snow," my first thought, as it had been for the vast majority of my life, is, "Fuck me. I have to do a bunch of goddamn shoveling."
Yeah, right. Like my
and
back's
then I
gonna
go,
hurt.
It's like anything you do, it becomes like a process, you know. And you have to like be like, oh, now I got.
It's like, oh, I gotta make sure my car's not parked in the street, or it's like, oh, I gotta like shovel in front of my mailbox.
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh, I gotta like.
It's just like I used to live in Oswego where it would get snow every day.
Yeah.
And that shit fucking.
That sounds horrible.
It would snow like there would be like 10 feet of snow, and the problem was the city was like so like it didn't know how to deal with the snow. Like there became too much snow, so they just like would take all of it and put it to the side. It was like you guys don't have
just
a good
put it to the
you
side.
don't have a good
Just pile it up.
process of like how to deal with snow, which is like a pretty like a basic thing.
I always used to wonder. It's like, why don't you just take flamethrowers and like let's just melt this fucking shit. Like
it's gonna
melt
the ice.
Yeah, but melt it, put it in buckets real quick. Like melt it in buckets real quick.
We get like whiteouts
take
too,
it away.
where like you get a whiteout, and so like I'd be driving to class. All of a sudden, you can't see 1 foot in front of you because it's literally just snow every direction, and it's like fuck. So snow. I was excited though when it snowed right before Christmas because I'm corny. I'm gonna be like, we're gonna have a white Christmas.
And then of course it was just like 60 degrees or something.
Yeah, then it rained.
Eve.
It rained the day of Christmas. Like, no, we're not.
Rain on Christmas is
2020 was just
aggressive.
2020 was like, yo, you thought you were getting a white Christmas.
Dude, have you been following track of this year at all?
Maybe you don't understand the situation, but this year sucks in all ways.
You haven't
You're not just gonna get a white Christmas and be able to check that off as a plus. Like,
I thought it would give us like one nice thing at the
that's
end.
what I was thinking. Like maybe it'll be cold enough that the snow will still at least be here, and then we'll have like, snow on the ground on Christmas. And then Christmas Day comes around and it's like, yeah, it's just rain. Nope, sorry, gone. Grass.
Hope you're dreaming of a wet Christmas.
Our last shot of
any kind of happiness.
And all revolves around wanting something that's white.
Yeah, right. I remember it's funny thinking about like how like weirdly entitled Christmas as a holiday is. Like my parents had on that really old Rankin Pass Christmas special on Santa, like the one where Santa gets like sick or something.
Yeah.
The Year Without a Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like this scene where there's like a song where this girl like wrote Santa a letter. It's just the Blue Christmas song, but from the perspective of a girl. And it's all supposed to be like, oh, so sad. Like this little girl, she's sad. Santa's not coming. It's like she's kind of spoiled. It's like she took all this time to write a letter and be all sad and boohoo because she's not getting a toy. Fuck her. Like, do your homework, bitch. Like, why don't you just...
Also, I forget how that movie went. I've seen it a million times when I was a kid. How did the kids find out there's going to be no presents?
I don't even know.
I'm saying, did Santa put a bulletin out? Like, let your kids know.
He like
no Christmas this year.
Santa's blue check Twitter. Just like, no gifts this year. Mad sick, bro.
I always the funniest part, like the whole like Santa Claus story, is the fact that like mean kids would get coal. Because like even when I was a kid, I'd be like, I'm not getting coal. Like, I could be as big of a piece of shit as I want.
Of course, yeah.
And if I open this up, I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm calling child protective.
Yeah, even as you kind of knew, even when you believed in Santa, you knew low key. You're like, it's not really like. There's no way I'd get coal, like, because I've been pretty bad at gotten gifts.
Yeah,
it was I have a lot of aunts that are super religious, and I had one in particular, who we have she passed away a while ago. But we always had a great relationship, and we were super close. But I remember, she's very, very religious, and I was an atheist pretty much my whole life. And I remember one time at Christmas, she said, "What did you get?" And I said, "Santa brought me," and I was maybe 8 or 9. So she said, "What did you get?" And I said, "Santa brought me this, and that." And she said to me, "So you still believe in Santa, huh?"
Oh, wow.
What
an asshole.
But here's the thing. My first thought was, isn't that kind of the pot calling the kettle black? I remember that as a kid. I remember remember that again. I love that on to death. But I remember that as one of the first like sarcastic moments as a kid I ever remember. I didn't say it, but I thought it, and it came right. I remember that's like one of my earliest comedic moments.
Yeah.
Because it came right to me instantly, where I was like, "Well, that's kind of rich, don't you think? All considering."
Did you just say that, or you just
I just thought it.
That'd be kind of funny if you did say it. Your aunt would have been like, "Damn, a little bit of a mouth on this one, huh?" Like, no, it's funny. I just remember that whole like transitional period of like, being a kid, where you start to grow up a little. And I just remember going up to my mom. I was like, "Look, Mom, is Santa real or not?" And she's like, "Well, yes, of course he's real. What are you talking about?" And I really had to like convince her. It wasn't even at Christmas time.
Yeah.
I just decided like, fuck it, it's happening.
Yeah.
And I was like,
we're having this conversation, Mom.
I was like, "Mom, like we're opening this can of worms now." Like, and she really tried to keep it going.
Yeah.
And I got her because this wasn't really like a lie, but it was sort of like an exaggeration. Like one of my friends had kind of teased me for it. He's like, "Come on, you still believe in Santa?" I was like, "Shut up! You're just not gonna get gifts."
Yeah.
But like I made it seem like kids were bullying me over it, and then that got her. She was like, "All right, fine, he's not real then." And I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's kind of like.
Like, I just wanted to know. Like, at that age, I was like 11 or something. At that age, I really didn't care anymore.
Oh, that age,
I was just like, I just want to know. Like, I won't really be heartbroken if it's not true. I just want to know if I've been, like, just kind of an idiot this whole time.
Dude, I remember in my middle school, like, when I was in middle school, we were on the bus going to school one day, and this guy goes on the bus, and he's, like, 12 at the time, and, like, we're talking about Christmas. He's like, "I wonder what Santa's going to bring me." And we weren't even like, "Oh, you still believe in Santa?" We're just like, "What?" Wait a second, dude.
You guys are like, "Wait, huh?" Like,
come on, man. It's like, it's kind of sad when it's like, dude.
12 is that age. You kind of get it.
You gotta grow up, man. Like, it's not even funny anymore. It's just like, you can't be doing this shit.
Yeah. It's like, do you have autism?
You know what's weird? I don't know if I ever did believe in Santa. It's because
I believed hardcore.
Because when I think about it, I always knew that my parents were setting up gifts. Because we didn't really do when I was a kid, we really didn't do gifts under the tree thing. Like, generally they would set all the gifts up, like on the couch or something. So it would sort of just be we'd come downstairs and it would all be sort of like you won a sweepstakes, like how like a game show. We would just come downstairs and it was kind of just all laid out, and it's like, oh fuck, which I'll probably do with my kids. I think it's way cooler than presents to kind of, because of presents are you come down and there's all the boxes and these are for you, and some things are wrapped, things of relatives are wrapped, and what my parents do, the open gifts were from Santa, and then one of two things would be wrapped and from my parents,
same here,
and then I'd have wrapped gifts from my relatives. But I definitely think as opposed to sitting down and opening up your gifts one by one, there was definitely something to coming down and just being cannonballed with everything you got at once, just coming down and the sight of it.
That was amazing.
Instead of opening it up and oh, there's a Game Boy, and oh, here's a game, and here's a game, and here's a game, to come down and there's the Game Boy and there's 7 games all arranged, and it's the majesty of the mass of it is
that's
oh,
pretty
fuck.
awesome.
That's right. Yeah.
Because I got the other version where it's literally, everything's just piled under the tree.
Yeah.
And I have to dig through it and be like, "Oh shit, here it is." I
definitely think, and I always saw that on TV, and I was like, oh, that definitely must have been cool. But yeah, there was definitely something
honestly,
about just coming down and being in shock of oh fuck,
where
do I
start?
start?
The presents are already there.
It was cool, but I the only thing about sitting behind the trees, it's kind of frustrating after a while, because if you once, especially when you're a kid, you get a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It starts piling up, and you're like it's all right, I want to go play with it now. And your mom's like, "Wait, hold on, there's still one more thing for Daddy." And it's I don't give a fuck. Yeah, right.
That usually occurred later at whatever family gathering.
See, it's such a jarring difference when you when you get presents as a kid versus when you get as an adult. Because when you're a kid, you go ape shit.
Yeah.
And then
as an adult, you kind of don't know how to react.
You're just like,
oh, thank you.
Another pair of jeans.
But I mean, as a kid, that's also the primary way that you get stuff. As an adult, you mostly get your own stuff.
You can just buy.
So,
I can just buy myself presents.
Yeah.
Like this mic we're speaking to is actually like a Christmas gift.
That's dope.
And I had put it in my like.
Yeah.
We did like an Elfster type of thing.
Yeah.
And my aunt got me, and I remember when like she, when I got it, I just went up to her, and it's like, I was just like, thank you, so much. But it's like, you're right. It's very different from being a kid because you're almost just like, it's like she doesn't even really know like what this is like doing for me.
Yeah.
Like why I would want this, and I just have to be like, thank you. You're the best.
This is what I want.
This is exactly what I put on this digital wish list I made for you. Like,
dude, people send like my brother-in-law and sister send us like not even a list, but like links on Amazon. He's like, this is what you're getting. Yeah.
To be fair, that's what I did.
Yeah.
That's what I've done with my parents
since
I was like late teens.
Because
I had a lot of like, I had a lot of specific hobbies as a child. So I was like doing stuff with like fish tanks, and I built computers and stuff. So a lot of the stuff that I wanted for Christmas was like out of the expertise of my parents. Like I couldn't be like, I want a new CPU for Christmas. They wouldn't know which one I want or which one I need or which one would work. So I would have to explicitly tell my parent. But then I'm not going to tell my mom what processor I want. Then she's going to go to Radio Shack and ask around or whatever. So essentially it just became like, this is the stuff I want, and here's where you can get it. And me and my brother sent my mom a list. Since I was about 12, 13, that's just the way it was.
I like that though, because it's a lot easier to fucking get. You're just like, fuck it.
So my mom doesn't. I'd be like, I want a new protein skimmer for my fish tank. Mom doesn't know what the fuck a protein skimmer is.
When I got to, I would cut out even the middleman though. When I got to a certain age, like really not like 15, more like closer to like 18, I would literally just be like, my mom would be like, what do you want? I'd be like, just money. All I want is money. She'd be like, but I want to get you something. I'm like, you're not gonna know what I want. Give me the money and I'll get what I want. Like that's all. Like just forget the materials. Just give me the amount of money that you would have spent.
And now
on
we
gifts.
buy presents for ourselves.
Yeah.
That'd be funny though. The next time you really like something, you just buy it, then you wrap it up, and you're like, "Hey, look what I got!"
Yeah, right. Like you buy it, you wrap it up.
You know what's funny though? I told my mom that I want a new mic. I want to get a mic for Christmas, and she was like, "How much is it?" And I was going probably around 80 or so. She was like, "All right, cool." And then on Christmas Day, she just sent me 100, right, which is dope. But now, for me, I'm like, I have to make sure that I spend that money on that mic and not bullshit. Yeah. And not, like, fritter it away on, like, food or weed or whatever. It's like, it was like an impetus of, like, I have to be, I feel a certain type of way. It's like,
you're a better man than me.
It's supposed to be a Christmas gift, and with it, I'm supposed to get a gift, not dumb day-to-day bullshit.
This is almost just like what it is with Christmas. It's like, I'm almost like, fuck the gift. It's like, just like, it's almost just like, the whole, like I get that, believe me, but that's where I'm always like, the novelty is gone. Just give me the dollars.
Yeah.
Literally, they'll be like, well, what do you want specifically? I'm like, to be able to buy something. Like, and I'll figure out what it is later. Like, I'll probably buy my own Christmas gift sometime in February when I decided what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you want to know something funny? I have this friend who's like, his family is very, very strange. They're like if you ever saw the documentary, The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia.
The Wild and Wonderful Whites.
They're like that. They're just like the bunch of crazy ass people. And so they'll literally, for Christmas, they'll just buy each other drugs. And like wrap it up. Like his mom bought him like a box of Whippets. That's he wrapped her.
You know what? All right, okay. I was going to say, I could see that. But not Whippets. Don't give anybody Whippets, bruh. Like I did see something on Twitter where a guy had like a cue in his hand, and he was like, I forget, his name was like Hesh or whatever, and he's like, "This is the present from Hesh Senior." But like, I could even see that. I could even see like giving something like weed or like, oh, here's like a nice bottle of liquor or something.
Yeah.
But not Whippets. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's like here's 600 canisters of nitrous oxide.
That's what I'm saying. Like that is nuts.
Yeah,
That is nuts.
Well, that's like
imagine
that's
if they
the
wrap them.
choice.
She wraps them like individually. Like you just get 600 pre-wrapped canisters.
I don't even consider Whippets a real drug, man. Like I've been saying this for a minute. Whippets is like the weird byproduct of a thing.
You should watch the documentary about Steve-O and you can see the power of the Whippets.
What I'm saying is that's not necessarily what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that like it doesn't count as a real drug to me in the same way that like inhaling your car's exhaust isn't a drug. It's just like
it's an inhalant. Yeah.
It's just like it's a thing that you're doing that's like
it gets you fucked up though.
But here's all Whippets does is deprive your brain of oxygen, right? But that's no different than if you just strangled yourself. That's not a drug. It's not a chemical that your body is absorbing that changes the way that your brain works.
Yeah, but
it's no different than if you like.
With that is because you're not doing it because you're not consciously thinking, oh, I want to deprive myself oxygen from my brain. You're thinking, I want to get high. And this will do it again.
I don't consider that. I don't consider that a high, man. I don't consider a lack of like.
Because have you done Whippets?
No.
See, I've done them, and they feel pretty good for 60 seconds.
To me, it's just it doesn't seem like a. But do you at least kind of get what I'm saying? Where it doesn't seem like a drug. It's like a weird byproduct of a thing. It's like if someone was like, hey, if I hold my head in the bathtub for 30 seconds and I take it out, I feel real woozy. That's not a drug. That's just
what are you talking about? That's a middle school drug.
That's not
or like kids in high school,
that's
what they
a drug
would do
when you're in 6th grade.
When kids in high school, what they would do is they would like stand up and put their heads between their legs and start like breathing in and out really fast and then get up.
That's
and then
not a
pass
drug.
out.
Like
a drug?
That?
You mean I remember that was like it'd be like you can make yourself pass out. It's like you squat, you breathe in and out like this, like really hard for like 50 seconds. Stand up, you like hold your breath with your thumb in your mouth. Supposedly that like made you pass out, and kids would try that. And, like,
part of my thing was also I was never into that sort of stuff because like that's not being high to me. That's like the points in being high in which you think, oh fuck, is something wrong? Like, do I have to drink?
Another thing about Whippets,
like it's not even Whippets in general, I guess. Because here's part of my bias is that one. I think Whippets are weird because I think it's like a byproduct of a thing. It's not a drug that you're consuming.
It's gross.
You're just like doing something.
It's ratchet,
but also like I don't think that losing consciousness.
Whippets are the Tekashi 6ix9ine of drugs. Like it's really.
I guess here's my major point. Here's my problem with all of those things. Like losing consciousness isn't getting high.
Right.
Like they're not.
But
like,
alcohol, you're poisoning yourself.
But you're not losing consciousness. You're delivering chemicals to your body that changes the way that your brain functions.
Now, here's the thing with
that's
Whippets,
what you're not like slowly dying. Like alcohol is a poison, but the poison
People can say that about heroin, though. That heroin, you are technically like slowly,
but it is
or tranquilizers too. You're losing consciousness, and that's what the high is.
It's chemically affecting your body, though.
But here's the thing with
Whippets
do chemically affect you. One thing that nitrous oxide does when you breathe it in, and this is something that I remember Steve-O talked about in the documentary, is if you take it in huge amounts like he did, like which means like literally like you have to be like learn how to take a Whippet back to back to back, like which is so hard to do that, and you literally have to be like.
I would not recommend it. Like, we're not recommending it.
I would not recommend it. I tried it last week. It was great. No, but the idea is like if you take it that much, like it'll reduce the B12 or something like that your brain produces, and that causes insanely vivid hallucinations to where like. At least according to Steve-O, he's like, I would see people, like, I saw a guy walk into the room, hit my bong, and then, like, disappear. Like, I saw a guy walk in, pick up my bong, smoke it, put it down, and then vanished. Like,
I get that.
Like, that shit's like, wild. Like, that's a drug, man. Like,
I don't know, because if you're... Like, I think that's an overlapping thing, because if you're suffering from hypothermia, you also get hallucinations. Well,
yeah,
and hypothermia isn't a drug. It's just the symptoms of your body shutting down.
Funny, like when in Oswego, that was like people loved nitrous. It was weird how much.
Oh, people love nitrous, man. I know in the UK it's super big because it's not illegal. I was watching this thing on
it's not
Vice
illegal here,
where like people were people like outside of clubs, when clubs end, they sell a bunch of it, and what they do is they put it in fucking balloons.
Yeah.
And they hand out balloons to people.
It's the nitrous mafia.
Yeah, and you like look outside these like clubs in London, and there's just balloons everywhere. You think it was like a 4th of July celebration or something. It's just
like a kid's birthday.
balloons.
Well, dude, you go to like
you
do go to like a music festival. They have like a specific. They call it like the nitrous mafia, and they sell like
nuts, man.
gas at like ridiculous prices, and people still buy it.
I wonder if clowns ever go to like Party City and they got like a job that day. And they're like, we're all out of nitrous. You're like, you fucking kidding me?
It's like, bro, what the
goddamn
This is why I
kids.
took this job.
I mean, it's, you know what? What's interesting though is the point you're making, Devin, is probably the reason it's still legal.
Yeah,
you could buy it.
Yeah.
Like we can get
true.
it. Like, if you guys want it, we can.
They
go
sell it
get
at Gotham.
Like,
I saw that the other day when I was walking into Gotham. I'm like, oh, they just sell whippets now. Which is kind of funny that it's like they know why we're buying. Like, because when they used to sell them at the deli or wherever, it's like, well, people want to use it for whipped cream, but it's like you're selling it at a smoke shop. And people are like, people will probably want to get.
I mean, it's also like when you have like a bong cleaner, and they're like, "Yeah, this is to clean your tobacco pipe," and then or if you have like one of those like, I don't know if you guys ever tried to buy like one of the detoxers to pass like a drug test.
No, I know plenty of people who have.
Yeah, I tried that once, and like I wound up not needing it. But I remember like the rhetoric the guy at the counter was using. He's like, so you're gonna want to wait at least 24 hours and not consume any toxins before you take this. And I'm like, what do you mean by toxins? And then he just looked at me like,
yeah, don't be a dick,
he's like,
bro.
dude,
You know
bro.
what
He's
it
like,
is.
bro, you know exactly what I mean by toxins. Like, he's just looking at my face like, dude, like.
Because I mean, that's
Come on,
also the
like,
sort of either you're an idiot or like an undercover investigator. That's something that an investigator would say to like try to catch him.
Well,
up.
because I generally was, but I was also just kind of confused by his word choice. I was like, what the fuck is that? I was like, what does that mean? Like, I can't eat like greasy food or like, and then he's like, no, dude, it means you can't fucking smoke weed, retard. I'm like, sorry. No, but he didn't say that. He just thought it really hard at me, and I just kind of received.
That'll be one of those things about like the prohibition era of weed that kids won't get. You're just like, you were not allowed to say it. Like,
right.
Like, where did you get stuff to smoke weed? We're like, oh, there was like whole stores filled with the things you need to smoke weed. Well, how is that legal? It's like, well, you were not allowed to say weed in there. And there was a bunch of signs that say, hey, you fucking retard, don't say weed in here.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you're asking people for help, and they're like, so which would you like, and they're like, like the employees at like Gotham will just say like, listen, if you want to get the best high, you'll use this, or they'll like put stickers of the marijuana plant on bongs.
Yeah, it's also because because that time has kind of come to an end.
Yeah,
people don't really catch paraphernalia. There was once upon a time where like that was a big deal.
No, yeah,
like a paraphernalia charge.
Really, and it wasn't that long ago. It was actually like around like late 90s to like early 2000s, like cops decided like we need to crack down on like weed, like the people, like Americans getting too comfortable like smoking, and that's when like they actually started, like you actually would see people getting arrested on the street just for like smoking a joint, or literally just like, well, you don't have any weed, but you have a pipe on you, and that's paraphernalia.
Yeah, there was that.
I got a charge like that once in school because I didn't have any actual weed on me, but a cop called me with a bowl, and they're like, well, this is paraphernalia, and I was like, what? And they're like, well, it means this is meant to smoke weed, and I'm like, but I bought that at like a.
I bought that legally at a store.
Yeah,
well,
like
it's like
Chance the Rapper got suspended for back in the day. He got suspended for having an empty baggie that they said had contained weed in it. At some point, it was a baggie that they said had contained weed. Well, it was because during that suspension, he got a 10-day suspension. And he made his mixtape 10-day during that suspension that like super blew up. It was his first project that really blew up. And I mean, he talks about it, the suspension and the reason pretty heavily on the album. But yeah, he got in trouble for a baggie that they said had weed in it.
Nowadays, like if cops pull you over, like not last year, like 2 years ago, I got pulled over. It was after like a day of working on the marvelous Mrs. Maisel as like a PA or whatever. I went.
It's after a day of holding the garbage can on the set of a serious TV show.
Not to plug anything, but I just went home after work, and like there's a woods area that you should just like smoke bowls and then go home. So I parked there, And then the cop pulled in, and he like got out. He went to my place. He was like my age. And he's like, "What do you?"
I hate cops my age, man.
It's well, it's.
But
weird.
I also hate cops. It's more to say that I'm terrified of cops my age, but I'm also terrified of cops older than me, but for two different reasons.
Well, I actually kind of, I was like, all right, this guy's, he's like my age, he'll be cool. So he's like, what are you doing? And I just said to him, like, I was smoking weed, because the car stunk of weed.
Yeah.
And he was just like, we got a suspicious call of these kids throwing rocks at these houses and breaking in. I'm like, dude, I just got off work. Like, I'm just trying to...
You're like,
most of the time they are there for something else. And
the guy was like, all right, just fucking, just go home. And then, that's usually what happens.
A lot of times, yeah.
That's something I've, like, had to get used to in the city, of, like, just smoking, and then, like, there's, like, cop cars. And just,
yeah, dude, one time me and Manny were, like, smoking right next to QED. Like, I smoked a bowl, we got out of the car, turned out there was a whole group of cops just standing right next to the car.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't give a fuck.
Shit.
You gotta get used to, like, I'll still instinctively, like, see a cop car and be like, oh, fuck, I gotta put this, like, putting shit out, and, like, putting your mind, and then just, like, driving around, like, they don't give a fuck.
And Malloy, the security, like, some campuses have, like, really fucking strict, cops. I was at, like, one of Malloy's things after, like, late at night with a couple of other students, and we were, like, smoking a joint.
Yeah.
And the campus security just started driving by, and we're like, oh, shit, like, we could obviously smell. And I think they knew, they just didn't care. They're like, fuck it,
Plus, like, a lot of times, it's like you said, like, usually they're there for something else. Like, in the city, like, most cops are not looking for drugs. They're, like, like terrorist watch or, like, whatever, crime watch or something like that. And then, like, I remember one time my friends got pulled over by an undercover, and they literally had, like, weed. Like, they were like, the cops like, do you guys have anything in this car? And my friend's like, there's a joint, like, right in that cup holder right there. And then he's like, what about, like, dope or pills, heroin? Like, you guys have any of that? And they're like, nah. And then he was like, all right, you guys could just kind of leave. Like,
get out of here.
And they didn't even take the weed. And it's just like, sometimes...
No, they never take the weed.
Sometimes they're just kind of
I don't think they want to touch it. Ooh, I have a great story, actually. This happened to some people that I know. They were in early college at this point. So they were maybe 18, 19. Definitely younger than 20. And they had just picked up like a Q or a half or something. And they're smoking in the park, right? And they had just, they bought it for the three of them. So they just divvied it up into their individual bags. And they were like grinding something up into a pipe. And a police officer shows up. And she goes, what's going on, you guys? And they go, we're smoking weed. And she goes, all right, you guys got to dump the weed out. You guys dump the weed out in the ground and step on it. And so there's three guys. First guy dumps it out and steps on it. Second guy actually goes over to the grass and dumps it out in the grass and kind of like fake steps on the grass. So he just went back and picked it up after that. The third guy, sorry, don't be loud. He looks down at his fucking baggie. He looks at the cop. Looks down at the baggie. Looks at the cop. Goes, I can't do it. You dump it for me.
I can't. It would be like shooting my child in the face. I can't
do it, man.
To which she replies, and have my hands smell like weed all day? No way. Have your friend do it.
That's hilarious.
She wasn't giving him shit. No way.
I like that she acknowledged the request as legitimate, but denied it.
Like, I like how he had like a familial connection with his
that's why I said they just picked, like, they had just gotten it. And it's back in that's also why I specify early college. One of those things where, like, it was probably an ordeal. They had been calling people all week. There was finally a guy. They went and got it, and they were fucking nervous and standing outside his house in a car. Right. Fucking him. Like, it was a whole multi-day ordeal. They just got it.
They probably had to talk to the
right
drug
about to
for like
smoke it.
Oh, that's the worst.
And they had to dump that shit
I
out.
had that similar situation because I got pulled over right after copping in school once. And I remember them taking the weed and they like waited in front of me. And I had bought an eighth, right?
Yeah.
And, what is an eighth normally? It's like 3.5.
Yeah.
like 4 if your guy's nice. They like weighed in front of me. And they said out loud, they're like, it's about 4.4 grams. I was like, bro, he hooked me up. Like, oh, why is this the bag they caught me for? Yo, that's a fat eighth. Like,
I thought you were gonna say it was like 3, and they would have been like, "Yo, this nigga ripped you off."
Yeah, right. The cops just laughing at me, like, "Yo, you got scammed."
Oh, look at this fucking jabroni.
You know what's funny about like?
Would you pay for this? 45.
They're like crying and
45 for 3.
He's on his radio like, "Yo, you guys got to hear this shit."
Oh, wait. How much was the bag? Say it to the mic. Say it. It was 45. You hear
Yo, I don't even want to arrest this guy. It's
like, honestly, jail sound doesn't even sound as bad as just being yourself.
Dude, you know what's weird though, like with like you're talking about like buying pot and the whole process, is that weed dealers, like, because it's illegal, they have such a power over it. It's like such a lopsided relationship that they have the power over the person buying. Because a weed dealer can like just be the weirdest fucking guy in the world. He have like a shithole apartment, and he's like, "Come into my place," and he just starts talking to your ear off for like 30 minutes. And you just gotta sit there and be like, "Huh, okay." Like, that's the only time in the world where you have to pretend to be like...
You know what, though? That's a complaint I hear a lot from people, but it's not really one that I accept from people that are, like, over 21. Because I'm like, at that point, you gotta have at least one good friend that sells drugs.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
Like, if you're over 21 and not at least one of your good friends sells drugs, you've squandered your time on Earth. You fucked up. No, why are you buying from a stranger? I pick up from friends exclusively.
I actually exclusively still buy from a stranger. Only because he lives closer to me than most of my friends would sell.
Well, also, like...
But,
I was more referring to when you're, like, in high school. And you're does anyone know, like... And then you just, like... Who is this guy? I hear,
Dude, it was such a, like, remember searching for days? Mm-hmm. Like, it's such an insane thing to consider. I can fucking snap now on this people. I think it's also become a lot more saturated. So there's just so many people. The competition is more fierce.
True.
Like,
I remember back then. Remember, it's like, yo, who wants to throw 5? It's like, I'll throw 5. Like, I'll throw 5. It's like you had to like piece together a bag of weed. Like, you and your friends had to like put some puzzle pieces together and make a bag of weed. Nowadays, just like, yo, does anyone have bud? It's like, yeah, I'll throw a pack. Like, it's like, I'll pack the bowl. You pack. The
You know what? I was never a fan of the whole 5s thing because I wasn't really a part of it during that time period. Right. By the time when I first started smoking, I was just, buying 8s or whatever, right?
True.
So the thing became when you have a bunch of people, like I just picked up, and you have a bunch of people at your house, and they're like, "Oh, we all want to smoke, but none of us have weed, but we'll all throw in 5." And it's just like, I now have to take that money and go convert it into weed again. Like, this is annoying. Like, I would much rather... It actually annoyed the shit out of me all the time where people be like, "Hey, man, I got 5. Like, I would much rather you have weed, man.
Yeah.
I still got to take your $5 and go... Because, first of all, if it's one isolated 5, it's like, there's nothing I can do with this. Like, I went and spent money for an 8th, then smoked with some people. They gave me 10. What am I going to do with this $10?
You can't hand, like, a pot dealer $5.
Yeah.
Nobody sells nickel bags.
Yeah. So it's like, you've started a quest for me to now have to save up enough money to get weed again.
That's the thing. It was always a quest we got into together. It was always like, all right, guys, we're going to smoke weed tonight. Do we all have 5? It's like, I've got 5. And
here's the thing. I give it, there's an extension to, that doesn't apply to everyone. There was an exemption to that for non-smokers, for people who don't smoke regularly. And normally, at that point, you don't got to give me money.
Right.
If I'm hanging out with someone and like, yo, Charlie never smokes, but Charlie's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm in today.
Yeah.
I've got you. It's
that
on
was
me.
Always
you'd
the
be like
thing
addicted. You'd be like addicted, Charlie.
Yeah. That's on me. But what will be annoying is when you're regularly smoking with people and the dude who shows up with 5s every single week, and it's like, yo, go get some weed, bro. We're not your weed ATMs. Like, we're not converting your money into weed. We did that work. We had to call a guy and walk somewhere.
You're not contributing to the session.
I guess I'm more as it. There's an unpaid cost to the fact that I had to text a guy and walk somewhere. A whole bunch of effort, work money went into me doing
it's
this.
It's kind of like when somebody
and you're kind of skirting that. Like, you're paying. Like, you're giving me, with the value of labor included, You're giving me $5 for $15 worth of weed.
It's kind of like
an extra $10 of labor that was involved in me having to go get that shit.
It's like if someone asked you to drive them somewhere that was 3 hours away, and they're like, "Well, I'll throw you $5 for gas."
Yeah,
it's like, well, that's not the point. It's also the fact that I have to drive 3 hours now, and take your ass somewhere, and then go back myself.
Drive
back. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
I mean,
there'd be nothing worse than like you just picked up, you invite some people over. And then you hang out, and at the end of the night, you've got like a quarter of your weed left and $15.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, what the? This is supposed to last me like.
I'd rather have weed than money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like, it's like
what am I supposed to?
If you smoke people up, like don't give like when people are like, yo, I'll give you like $5 if you can like. I'm like, well, what am I gonna do with your like buy a fucking iced tea? Like,
exactly. It's
like, people will also sometimes be like. One thing I also hate is, like, people who've, like, started buying weed, but they're not at my level yet. And they'll be like, yo, I'll throw in on a pack. And I'm like, go for it. And then, like, I give them the grinder, and they give it back. I'm like, yo, you threw, like, a single leaf of weed.
Yeah. You know what, man?
Like, you literally put, like, a single leaf into my grind. Like, what is this supposed to do?
You know what? I never say anything.
This is just going to get stuck to the teeth.
This is in the spirit of weed. I never say anything. Because sometimes motherfuckers are just down bad, man. And that's just part of it.
No, and I get
I've
it,
been
but
that
sometimes
guy.
I'm like, I know you're not. Like,
somebody's like,
but even
I've been that guy to be like, to have, like, you're like, you just kind of scrape along with the little bit that you've got. So someone's like, you want to put in, and you're like, you got to look at them with the puppy eyes. Like, I'm sorry.
You're like, I'll only take this much.
I always have to give them a story. I feel so bad. I'm like, all right, you don't get it. It was a thing, and I lost it. It fell down a drain. Like, no, I don't have enough. Like, there has to be, like, I need to have weed. Like, you don't need to have weed for whatever reason.
Sometimes
but there's always a reason that you need that, like, when you, like, take a little pinch off, put it in there. They look at you, then look at what you've got, and look at you, and then you have to give an explanation like, no, what you don't understand is I gotta go out with my cousin tomorrow, so I need a nug for that, and then I gotta go.
I need to say that nug for Saturday
with my parents, and we're doing a whole thing.
Also, you need nugs for yourself.
Like,
it's like
there's a different. I can tell with certain people, and really it just depends on how well you know people. But some people it's just because they're fiends.
Yeah,
and it's like, bro, come on, like you're gonna get another bag soon.
Yeah,
like.
Or like there'd be the person like my buddy told me the story like of this guy in college. He went to his apartment. He went to his dorm, and he's like, "Hey, you want to smoke?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And he said, "Okay, do you have a bowl?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "No." My friend is like, "Okay, do you have any weed?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Do you have a piece or a lighter?" "No." And he's like, so you're just asking him to smoke?
No, that was a classic. That doesn't happen anymore, but that used to early post college used to happen all the time. A person would hit you up, yo, you want to smoke? All right, sure. And then you come to find that they've got nothing involved. What they mean is, do you want to smoke me up? Is what they've asked it. Yeah, that's what
you might as well just ask it. And it's just like, ask me like, hey man, do you mind getting me high right now? Like if I don't mind, I'll be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like, you know
Most
what?
Of the time,
I'm smoking alone. I'd like the company. Whatever, come on over. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of times, occasion like, hey man, you trying to match? They won't say match because they're being duplicitous. But they're like, yo, you want to meet up and smoke? And then they show up and they're like, I don't have.
That's the thing. I remember in college.
You got papers? No,
I always tried to establish that right away. Like people would text me like, yo, you want to smoke? I'd be like, well, do you have weed?
Yeah.
They'd be like, well, no. And then I'd be like, so we have to find it.
And there was people that you knew right off the bat never had it. Like there was other people who consistently were always, and you just knew to ignore them. You just knew to you had to be like, you want to smoke, and you're like, this is just someone.
Were the people at the party? Like how like at the party there's always like somebody's like, I'm rolling up a blunt, and then somebody would like try to make it organically, like, hey, I'm gonna see what's happening in this room. like hey, the conversation seems pretty cool here, but really they're like, oh, what is this? You're smoking a blunt? Hey,
yeah, man. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. Yeah. Just ask me. Don't sort of mosey on. Ooh, what do we have here?
I remember one time. One
Yeah.
time I did that in college. And to be fair, this is probably my fault. I was probably really drunk and annoying about it. But kids were like rolling a J, and I was like, hey, can I throw 5 to smoke it with you guys? I know I'm not your friend or anything, but I want to get high. And they're like, yeah, sure. And then they took my 5. They're like, we have to finish rolling it, though. And then I'm like, all right. And then they like went away.
Nah, that's dick on dick.
And then like they straight up took my. No, I mean I'm saying it's my fault for getting
Yeah,
took.
no,
But no, they were dicks. Like they literally like these kids went to finish the J and then they were gone forever, along with my $5.
That's
and I was
fucking
like, I was mad. I would have if I saw them. I was drunk enough to where I would have fought them for my $5, or at least got into a big shower match.
They didn't need to do a whole thing.
They didn't need to. They didn't need to like fuck me out of my $5. It's $5. Like you really need to rob me of that?
Yeah. I mean, I've said no. It's always a weird thing when somebody's like, "Hey, can you get me high?" And you're like, "No," and like, "Oh, okay, well."
I wish you would.
Like, and it's just like that's the end of your interaction. It's like,
I almost never say no, but only because I smoke too much not to.
Same. Like, that's exactly how
it becomes
I feel
fiendery.
days.
I become Gollum. Like the amount that I have it is already too much. If I'm also now like hoarding it, then I've become a lunatic. Yeah. Like I've become
very true.
Yeah, like
very true.
And you don't like have it as much as like I always have so much
so
of it
like,
that if I also was obsessed with holding on to it at all times, I'd just be Gollum. I'm just fucking in my cave. Like yes.
My brother will literally be like, dude, you don't have to give me your weed. Like you don't have to give me your weed. I'm like, dude. Please take it. Actually, like,
that's what used to like.
I don't need it.
I used to have like when me and my brother were like living in the same place. I used to usually have my weed in the same spot, and sometimes he would like he would like take a nug or something, and occasionally it would be like annoying, but it would be like the amount of money that I spend weekly on it. If I started to go insane that a nug was missing, I'm officially a lunatic.
Yeah,
I'm walking around. A nug is gone. A nug is missing. At that point, you're a fucking psychopath.
Put it on a missing nug sign and just like hammer to fucking lamppost.
Yeah, right. Or it's just like a picture of like a nug.
Have you seen this nug?
It's like a picture of you like looking at it. There's like, it's funny though because sometimes like one thing as like, and I'll have as a fiend. And we'll probably wrap this up soon, but as a fiend, like I'll have moments where like you'll be like, yo man, I just bought an ounce. I got like extra money from work, and then your friend's like, yo, that's dope. Could I buy like an eighth? And you're like,
no,
like,
well, no, because now I have
like,
less than an ounce.
It's like no, it's like, but then in my head, I'm like, technically, I totally could, but like. Yeah, like what you're doing, like just like it
goes back to exactly what I said before. There's a labor cost in getting it, even if it's easy, and they're skirting that cost. They're making me the middleman. Yeah,
and it's all out of convenience. Now that they discovered I have weed, it's not like why don't we smoke? Like and be like, all right, let's smoke. It's like let me reduce your cop that you're so excited about.
Yeah, because it's like you went to buy an ounce. Not like an ounce minus the eighth I sold to Mike.
Yeah, it's like, and to also have $50. Like if I wanted $50, I would have bought $50 less. Exactly. You don't need this random $50.
I don't need this like we. It's different. Like when you were much younger, it was different because money was much more scarce.
Yeah.
So, like, once you start working, like $50 is like
you make
bets. You make $50 bets.
You're like
once you start making bets and you realize like money becomes this thing where you're like. Nah, man, Joe Pesci wasn't in this movie. Here's $50, and it like reduces the value of it. Like,
yeah. No, it's very true.
I don't. You know what? And my version was probably be I don't gamble like that, but I'll often go like, oh, I've spent that on food on a whim. Just like I spent that on. Like sometimes I'll be like, damn, $30 is kind of a lot of money, but it's like I've also just walked into a store and gotten $30 worth of food just off, not even out of like.
Yeah, I think that's
it's a bodega here. Let me go in and get a sandwich and some mozzarella sticks and a drink and an ice pop or something.
You ever buying like if you ever buy like a piece, you're like, oh, but this bong is like $60. Do I really want to buy like a $60 bong? And then you're like, well, I did spend $60 just at Ziggy's the other night.
Yeah, exactly. Like, bar tabs are another big one too. Yeah, killer. where sometimes I'll be like. It'll be a way to downplay something. Like you get hit with an unexpected bill and you'll be like, damn, I can't believe they took me for $100, man. That's a lot of fucking money. Then I'll be like, you know what? That's just one night out I won't get to do. I'm saying that's one night out after this.
Because I mean, at the bar, the problem with the bar is they don't tell you as you're going along. Like, by the way, it's $50. You're just there. You're having fun. You're hanging out with people. You're drinking. And then like 6 hours go by, and they're like, well. you want to close out? And you're like, yeah, of course. And then it comes there and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute. 8. Wait, is that an 8? Is that an 8 in the front of the number?
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck is
man,
this?
I could easily generate a crushing vortex of a bar tab. So I have no problem about asking, and I do constantly. Generally, before I get a drink, I'll be like, where am I at, Chief? What's my numbers looking like? I dial to it in places I've never been because I could easily rack up way more. Because especially if it's like you're like a night out, you're hanging, you haven't seen people, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to spend $60. I know I'm going to spend like 100. But I at least want to put that marker down so that I'm trying to make that, so that when I get up to 100, I feel bad about the fact that I spent 40 over the 60. I knew I was going to spend the 100 in the first place, but if I didn't put that marker there, I could go into 150, 200 territory if I lose it. So you put that $60 marker so that...
It's like a guilt indicator.
Yeah. The further you get from that, you're like, oh, I'm at 110. I was supposed to do 60, man. I can't do double. I can't get up to double.
It's also because like you're paying with debit, and you don't think about it because like when you're cash, like if you're saying it's cash at the end of the night, you're like, well, there's less things in my wallet than there were to begin with.
Yeah, when you're paying with debit, you're like, there's less money to my name. Tom Crescendo is officially worth $87 in Stella Artois.
That is funny because it is kind of like, yeah, that's for the computers to handle. Or you're like super messed up after a night out, and it's not like you're broke or anything, but you're definitely on a budget, right? Yeah. And this is a thing that always happens when you're drunk, but you've left the function, you've stayed pretty much within your budget, then you hit wherever you're going to buy food, and part of you goes, I should probably check how much money I've spent just to know what would be reasonable to spend on food right now. But then part of you in your brain goes, that's tomorrow's problem, man.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, think about,
sandwiches,
all part of you is just it's like, do you really want to get upset about yourself now?
Yeah. It's like, are you really gonna, let's just ride this out and tomorrow can suck. It's already been cool, man. Why have to go to bed with this on your conscience? Let's just continue to roll these dice.
Fun.
Yeah.
You're thinking like, oh, I haven't done this in a while. Been like a day. You know?
You're like, dude, fuck it. Just get a double, and it's for tomorrow's Devin to worry about.
Yeah.
An order of calamari for 2. Do you, boo-boo? Does that sound like... I
need to treat
sounds like
myself.
Someone else's problem.
I love that feeling.
So what? You may not be able to pay your phone bill if you go over a certain number.
It doesn't. Well, I like it.
It's a roll of the dice.
No, I did that last night, and I did wake up with that second portion of calamari, which was amazing, which was pretty dope, bruh. Which is to have a whole fucking tray of calamari.
True.
Get that motherfucker in the oven.
That's always nice. Yeah, waking up in the morning with more food, like night restaurant food.
Yeah,
just like
when you're like,
it was so good too.
When you wake up, when you like only ate half of the sandwich for you, pass out, so you wake up. There's that other half sitting there, and you're like, "Oh fuck, thanks last night, Devin."
Yeah, right. You're like, Tom from the past is pretty cool. I should hit him up. And then you just like eat it all like right there.
Oh yeah,
you should have eaten that at lunch.
Yeah, no, there's no warm up, no nothing like that. You got to take that to the dome.
Yeah, and then you're just like, fuck you, present Tom. You could have had like a little bit left for later.
Nah, I just chalk that up to the game, man.
Yeah, man, it is what it is.
You can't cry over spilled milk. You just gotta.
Sometimes you just have to roll with the punches when it comes to that type of shit.
It wasn't gonna last till lunch. It was, structurally, it was going down. It was.
Yeah. It was time. It had its day.
There was only so much longer that those Wendy's chicken nuggets were gonna last at room temperature.
I mean, oh god, leftover wet. My parents, I come home from work yesterday. My parents are like, you can have leftover White Castle if you want, and I'm like, I like how you said if I want, as if anybody would ever want leftover White Castle.
Leftover White Castle's gross, and I've been there because there's a one near me that's open till like 3 a.m. So I'll order from there.
Oh,
and
God.
yeah, that's pretty, because you'll always be like, I could eat 20 hamburgers, and then you eat like 8, and then you wake up to 12 very cold, very stale hamburgers.
Oh,
and
with like a roach on them, and
you
like,
pretty much
Jesus
have to
Christ.
like cover them in a condiment for them to be edible.
Oh.
They pretty much have to be.
White Castle's hit or miss when it's fresh. Too.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I'm saying. Like it's not fun. It's no bueno.
The only thing that in White Castle that's consistent to me is the fries. Like, I don't even fuck with the onion rings really that much.
Fries are pretty good. They're thicker.
Chicken rings are good.
Yeah.
Though. Everyone loves the chicken rings, but yeah, White Castle is just one of those like fast food places. You're like, this is the definition of fast food. Like,
It's
this
like,
is like true
I think
slob.
White Castle is, you truly get like a hankering for it. Like, you're like, no one just goes, I guess I'll just have White Castle. Like, you're like, fuck, I gotta have some White Castle.
Yeah, true. You get like a moment where you're like,
Yeah.
maybe you know what? I really want a fucking White Castle hamburger right now.
I started watching that movie last night, actually.
What?
After I got high, Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
I was just like, I haven't seen this in a long time, blah, blah, blah.
You know what? When you go back and watch that movie, when you think about it as a weed movie now, there's like very little weed in it. Like, it was back in an era where like, even the bit of it they showed was like scandalous. But now there's just so much more actual weed smoking. Like, there's very little. They smoke like what? At the beginning of that movie for maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty, that's all they talk about being, they're not even like high the whole movie. They've got to be sober by like an hour into that film. Like,
well, because they throw the weed out too.
Yeah.
Like halfway through, they're like,
oh, he does have the whole big, he does have the whole big bag of weed that he's trying to, but there's not a lot of like now, like weed movies. At least half the movies people actively, visibly smoking.
I remember there was a time when when people like writers didn't even know like what being high was like. Like, you'd watch there's like an old Family Guy bit where like Peter and Lois are high. And like the joke is like they actually hallucinated themselves.
Yeah. That's always a big thing where people put like hallucination on.
And it's just crazy. Like I don't know if they just did that because it was funny at the time or because they genuinely did not know that weed didn't do that to you.
They probably did.
I bet
definitely smoked pot.
I feel like it was a mix of both. Because maybe I feel like at the time like if you were a writer,
I think they were afraid that the public didn't really have a conception of what weed
or
was
just what
like.
being high means.
So they put psychedelics on that because that's most people's understanding of like being like,
but I grew up
high.
thinking that. Like I would tell people like I'll never smoke weed. I would never smoke something that'll make me hallucinate.
Yeah.
And people would be like, what the fuck are you retarded?
Well, there was also like weird I remember in Chasing Amy there was one scene near the end when Jay and Silent Bob go to meet the main characters at a diner and like Jay starts just rolling a blunt at like the table and like the waitress comes over and is like, hi, can I get you whatever, and it was just like,
you know, to be honest, those were two of the most realistic depictions of weed smokers and weed smoking.
Yeah, Jay and Silent Bob.
I know, but even like that, I fucking definitely know smokers who would do that.
Yeah,
I've had people that I've had to like scold to be like, dude, you can't roll up here. Like, if you were just
it becomes like second if they don't question. If
they
don't question,
he's not even
just
baddest. I know.
They'll just like act like it's what's fucking
yeah.
I
definitely like cat squirt bottle.
That's
people,
definitely more realistic.
Like, bro, we were fucking.
Jay and Silent Bob are more realistic than something like I don't know, like the hallucinations, or even really like Cheech and Chong. Like, like I just remember like watching Up in Smoke for the first time, and I was like, this is not that fucking funny. Like as a stoner, like this doesn't really like.
I used to watch. I used to listen to their skits a lot. I never saw.